welcome back. Another episode of the Peripheral Views podcast. Fifth episode coming in hot tonight. Happy Independence Day to our listeners, our U.S. listeners and abroad. Um, 4th of July, we're doing this recording. It'll obviously be released in the future, but happy Independence Day belatedly to our beloved listeners. So this is our fifth episode of the Peripheral Views podcast. I'm your host, Jake, and with me is Erroll. What's going on, Erroll? How you feeling?
Ooh, I'm hanging in there, having a about as good of a 4th of July as you can. Didn't have to work, but I don't usually have to work Tuesdays, so bittersweet.
Ooh, hate
Wish it
hate
was a
when that
Wednesday,
happens.
man.
Yeah, man, I hate when that happens. It's the worst.
Yeah. Uh, I was reading this article, or it wasn't even an article. It's just a Reddit post. That's where I get all my information.
Enough.
New Star Spangled Banner dropped.
Oh, they got the remix out now.
Yeah, someone hit the remix. Someone asked an AI to make the opposite of the Star Spangled Banner, like make the inverse,
Oh,
and
interesting.
and
Okay.
it's kind of topical, man. I don't like how applicable it is to the time because it should be the exact opposite. But I'm gonna go ahead and drop it just for old the 4th of July.
Heaps, right? Yeah, I actually haven't heard it, but I'm not like the biggest fan of the original. It's fine. Like I guess it works. I mean, it's kind of when it's what it's about like context with me. Like if I hear it in the right context, I get a little patriotic about it. And it can feel like a little tear jerky. You get that little that American pride in
Right.
you.
When it's
But
appropriate, like you go to like an air show and there's like a flyby or something nice.
yeah,
But like I went to a public like it was just a nice little public jazz on the park. And they're like,
oh cool,
we're gonna have to bust you down with a little Star Spangled Banner. So
nice.
you gotta find the flag, dude. It's
Mm.
always and here's the thing,
Take
when
that
I
damn
went to
hat
go
off
do the
too.
right. So like I didn't have a hat. I was good to go, but then I was like, where's the flag? I'm panicking. I would like so like not like legit like, oh, but I was like I look at the person I was like, dude, the Star Spangled Banner. I was like, where's the flag? So I'm looking around, I find the flag post, I look up it, sun's directly on the I flashbang
Ooh.
myself. So I'm like, oh, I'm like, no, you gotta do it for America.
Yeah,
So
you gotta burn them eyes out for the soul of this country, damn it.
I just held my hand up like I was saluting, but I was just trying to block the sun. I was just like, for the
You're
land
hella
of the
patriotic.
free.
Yeah, that's what it's kind of it is a beautiful song. I mean, it's for sure a beautiful song, but like I always make for me it's like it's sentimental not for like American pride, but it actually just reminds me of like my all-time favorite sport, baseball. Like it I picture the ballpark if I hear it.
Right.
So that's
I
like
feel like granted it's like for almost every sport, but I feel like it's definitely it's America's pastime with baseball. So that's
yeah, it's definitely a little bit tethered to like American pride in a lot of ways, but you know.
dude. I saw this one thing and it was while I was doing the whole theater thing, this guy's breakdown of baseball, and it actually, because you know me, I'm not the biggest fan, dude. It made me kind of like appreciate it.
Oh
Um
man.
he broke it down. He's like, every single sport is a play, whether you like it or not. There is a there's a good guy, there's a bad guy. They have to there's opposing forces, and the way he described baseball, he's like, it's like a knight's tale. You have the hero up at bat, he has his phallic object, and his sword, he
Oh
has his
man.
bat. He goes up there, there's an opposing force, and they throw they're in the opposing force, those are like the bad guys. And if he
Right.
is able to strike his sword in such a way, he can either make it to a safe spot, make it to one safe spot, make it to the second safe spot, the third safe spot. And when he makes it home, he's celebrated as a hero on his hero's journey, the four bases. So he finishes his quest, he's a hero, he makes it back, he's good to go. And if you're able to do something so heroic, like with the sword, like they throw the ball and you just hit it out the park, um you get Mary Sue. Like you're a such a hero, like that you're able to just waltz through all of the danger uninterrupted. You don't need to sprint through the bases just because you are beyond the
It's
you're beyond the
interesting. I
game.
fan I fancy myself probably one of the like a very deep and passionate baseball fan,
Hmm.
like in a major way. And I gotta be honest, that explanation is like a it's kind of brilliant, and I'd never heard it. I'd never heard that, like, because there's a lot of analogies like
Yeah,
that you can draw from like that sport, and like I think, in my opinion, like baseball. First of all, I would love if we could take this podcast in the baseball direction at
I
some
can't
point.
help you,
It
man. I
would be a
can't help you.
it'd be
We can talk. We
yeah,
can talk about some old. We can talk about some old timers. We could talk.
yeah.
We
I
should
mean,
talk
there's some
about Bo
interesting,
Jackson. We should talk
yeah.
about Bo Jackson, the
Oh, you
greatest
can talk about
athlete of all
the
time.
you could do like the Black Sox, the Black Sox scandal from like the 20s where they like threw the World Series, which is like that's a huge
Yo, but
undertaking. It's a
how much
monster.
money are you gonna make from that though? You know, kind of
Well,
feel.
they got banned from baseball. They never got to
Oh
play again. So
no,
it's like shit. I mean, whatever they
what's it
made, it must have
worth?
been good because they never played another. They never played another fucking inning. But
Oh
it's like
no.
that sport has a lot to offer. A lot more to offer than people realize. I think the my always, what I go to with baseball is like people always find that it's always the same commentary about baseball that is like boring, but like um it's one of the few sports where like I know it, and this sounds like a stupid baseball fan's opinion, but like it genuinely is true, and you can find the sport a lot more interesting when you understand it more, which A is also a cliche, but B, every single play, and when I say every play, I mean every play is a pitch. A pitch is a play, right? Like
Mhm.
a guy throws 100 and however many pitches in a game, 90 pitches. That's the starting pitcher. There's probably over the course of a game between the two teams, there's typically probably like 250 to 350 in pitches thrown in a game. That's a lot of plays. There
Yeah.
is always something going on. Like every player on that field has an angle. There's an analytic for
Well,
every
so
motion.
that's the thing that gets me. It almost clicked for me one time when I was watching baseball. Like not only like because you can only do so much. You're the pitcher is going to throw it and he's going to hope that he gets a strike. But worst case scenario, everyone is ready if it doesn't happen. They're like,
Right.
what if it comes off clean? What if it comes off weird? Like you have to always be like it's a
It's
it's a
anticipatory. Like it's all
yeah.
about anticipation. Like the sport is like I don't know. This is like a terrible way to start this podcast because I'm telling you, like all you're doing is like all you're doing is greasing my gears right now. And I don't want. We're not gonna. We can't do baseball, right? Not
Yeah.
today, at least. But I will
But
say, like I advocate for that sport in a way that I don't advocate for anything else. I think it's like one of the greatest. It's the greatest gift my father ever gave me. It's the greatest gift this country's ever given me. It's my all time. It's like the
dang.
thing that. Oh yeah, 100%. Like that is the greatest thing that I've ever been introduced to. It's like it's my first love, like the first thing I was ever obsessed with, the first thing I've ever truly loved. Like it's near and dear, like in a way that I can't even explain. But I would love to someday on this podcast dive into it and its origins, or some side story, backstory. We could absolutely find a window for that. But
Yeah.
on
No.
a side note, taking this back onto the tracks. Let's talk about today's podcast. What do you say?
Sure.
All right, today we are talking about another film. This is our film series. Okay, this is number two, the second film in that series. We originally kicked things off. It was our first pilot episode, The Thing by John Carpenter. That was about a month ago or so, or a little
Kind of a
more.
big undertaking for the first like
Yeah, we took on
this
The
one
Thing,
definitely
man.
seemed a lot less like I was like
Yeah,
I don't
no,
need
the
to do
thing in hindsight, I think I'd love to do like I don't know, we'll see how far along we get with the film series, but I would love to do like a revisitation of the thing because it's genuinely one of my favorite movies ever.
oh, we
But
could always go back and do the other movies and stuff that we didn't do the second one we didn't or the
yeah, it's
remake
true.
we
Yeah.
can
I don't think those ones are as fun to dissect, obviously, because the first one is just so amazing. But either way,
well,
that could be something we do. But today we're going to talk about another film. We're going to talk about a film from 2017. That film is The Death of Stalin, directed and written by Armando Iannucci. Iannucci, I think is how it's pronounced. A filmmaker, I believe he's an English. He's a filmmaker out of, I think he's from Scotland or England. I'm sorry, let me pull it up. Scotland. He's a Scottish filmmaker. He is. I mean, this film is a ton of fun to watch. It's. I remember the way that it was introduced to me was I did see it in the theater. My wife and I had just moved to Rochester, and it was the night that we moved there, and we were all settled, and we were just like in our new apartment, and we thought like, oh, let's go see a movie, like just something to do to like Remember the Night, and we just jumped into whatever movie happened to be playing at the local theater. This was the one we jumped into, and I was like, "Oh shit! I thought we were just seeing like some like, I hear the death of you hear the death of Stalin, you hear the title, and you think it's going to be like a very
Some
serious,
dramatic.
maybe yeah,
Yeah.
very dramatic and dark film about, and it is dark in a lot of ways, but like you don't expect the black comedy that's throughout it. And I remember being like unbelievably shocked in the theater, thinking like, good lord, I am laughing so much more than I thought I was going to in this film, and it was a great experience. Errol, what was your introduction to the film?
You. I heard about it before, and
Yeah,
like I didn't really think anything of it. But the second I started looking into it, well, anything with Steve Buscemi is gonna be just
yeah, he's great, right?
just really good. It's not gonna be
Yeah,
bad, man. I don't
yeah,
think
he's
so.
awesome.
I can't think of a
Um,
lot of stuff with his name on it that I don't like. So I was really excited for it. And yeah, it turns out he I don't know if he was biased. He is one of my favorite characters in the whole thing.
Dude, he was great, man. Yeah, and his performance is awesome.
It's
He,
most
he
like
really
reasonable,
provided.
most like relatable. Like
Yeah, I mean,
he's not
you don't
oh
really
he
expect to hear like a New York City like accent out of out of
that's
Nikita
one thing
Khrushchev, but
that's what one thing I kind of liked about the movie. It threw me off at first, but I was like, wait, if they're gonna
everybody's
do
got different accents.
yeah, but if you're going to have a like a translation, if it's not gonna be like literally in Russian, this is as realistic as it would sound. Like the different dialects and stuff, they would be like just a bit different, but it would be the same. You know what I mean? It'd have the same
Yeah.
kind of impact. Like you know
Well, it
that
was
this
an
person's from a
interesting
different region. Interesting choice.
Yeah, it was an interesting development choice or direction choice because and we'll get into a little bit more of this, but just as a touchstone, it's like
I
I
liked
thought
it.
it was an interesting choice to keep like it because it's I mean other films have gone through this problem before of like, there's great films about World War II from like the German perspective. Like I don't know if you've ever seen Downfall.
Mm-mm.
The it's like a basically it's about there's an actor who plays Hitler in his last days in the bunker. And it's like the whole film is in German, and like I remember thinking when I saw that film, I was like, man, it's a little obviously it was a little politically toxic to make like a biopic, a German biopic about the last days of Hitler's reign and his last days of his life in the bunker in I believe it was Berlin. But I remember thinking like, oh, I don't really know that anybody else could make this film because it would either have to be actors who knew German and could speak German, or German actors, and the production would have to come from another country. But like this is kind of the best way. But in my head, I always thought secondarily, like getting English actors or English speaking actors, and just instead of trying to have them like I think Inglorious Bastards did this a little bit too. You had like German SS officers who probably would have spoken German typically, but they were the one
Just
main
had a German
villains.
accent.
Yeah,
So
they had like a German accent, but it was English speaking.
here's one thing that I kind of like picked up on with acting, and this is or at least with my one. I'm an actor now, Jake.
Oh
So I
yeah,
kind of
that's right.
I know exactly what it takes to do this stuff. So no, but no, here's
I'm all ears. Let's hear it.
here's one thing that I've like heard like if like the really good actors like uh you won't need like props. Like
Mhm.
you can just be like right, like I have a gun right now, and I'm gonna shoot someone. I have a gun and they're right in front of me and they're the bad guy. If you are good, you can just hold your hand out. It was like in Birdman. Like
Oh right,
he
yeah,
was like, I'm
okay.
gonna shoot you, and they're like, oh, what do you mean? And then like he just actually, but like, so to act, you need to make it seem like it's not a movie set. That's your only job. If you can do anything else, like what they're doing here, they're trying to portray it like it is like they're in Russia at during the death of Stalin and during that like tumultuous time period. If you're able to do that while like with a just different regular English accents, like that's what acting's about. Like
Right.
if you can be removed from it even with that, then the job is done. And I
Yeah,
think
it's about like self-actualization, right? Of like whatever's in the script.
yes. because like you could do this movie, you could absolutely ruin it. You could be totally just
for
not
sure.
immersed in the movie because they're Russian and they're not even speaking. There's not even one Russian accent. You know what I mean? You could
No. And
totally
nobody
be
does. Nobody ruins it. Everybody's just
right.
like because they're all
Everyone's
on board. They're all
they're
on
all
board with like who they are and the
they're
identity, and then
exactly
just and channeling that through the English language.
they're all interpersonal. You
Right.
you relate with the character, and then you could tell yourself, that is the character. That's what they're playing. It's like when what is it Malenkov when he was like up he was up for the chopping block, and then like when he gets like the chairman position, he's like, you can kiss my Russian ass.
Yeah.
Like there's
Yeah.
not even it's not he's not Russian. There's no Russian at all, but he's
Well, that
just
no Russian would ever put it that way either. It's more let me pause this here because we are diving into the film a little prematurely because I do want to let's use that like little diatribe, so to speak, as like a bit of a primer for the film for our
mhm.
listeners because we got to do a little bit of housekeeping before we get going and we start
Oh, I
unpacking
forgot.
this thing. Yeah, no, we're jumping around because it's exciting to talk about a good film, and this is a good film, and there's a lot. There's not quite as much to unpack as something like The Thing, but there's quite a bit to talk about. So let's do a little housekeeping up front. Let's talk about the podcast and where we're at in the podcast. Peripheral Views podcast. This is our fifth episode, second in our film series. You can find us on Twitter, as we've mentioned many times before, at Peripheral V123. That's our Twitter handle. You can find us on SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/peripheral views 123. Hit us up on Gmail. That's peripheral views podcast at gmail.com, peripheral views podcast at gmail.com. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, and Spotify for all your streaming pleasures. Just type in that search bar, peripheral views. Should be easy to find. We're making waves in that landscape, which I'm happy to be doing things over there because that seems to be where we're getting a little bit more traction in our listenership. And if you do happen to catch us on there, if you come across us on Twitter and then you pop us over into your Apple Podcast feed or your Spotify feed or your SoundCloud feed, do us a big solid and hit that subscription and notification bell. And if you're on specifically on Apple Podcasts, leave us a review and a rating. Even if it's trash, I'll take any rating. I don't care.
Yeah,
I'm
tell
good.
us
You can, yeah,
if it's like not your speed. And
if
like
it's
what
not for
we
you,
could do,
that's
be
no
like,
big
you know what,
deal.
I like this kind of I like podcasts that do this.
Yeah, I
Hey,
like
maybe
feedback because it makes us better. Even if it's bad, even if it's poor.
if I could look at your stupid sounding faces, maybe I would give you more view. Let us know.
Yeah, maybe we get the old you get a little video stream going. Who knows? We're willing to make adjustments. But either way, if you happen to stumble upon us in the Apple Podcast realm, and you give us a listen and you like what you hear, please leave a review and give us a good rating. A 5-star rating would be super clutch. But that is it for the housekeeping. I do want to hit two notes, two kind of somber notes a little bit. I wanted to talk. Erroll, I think we mentioned this in the development for this particular show. Wanted to pay a little homage to Cormac McCarthy, the author who
Yeah.
passed away about 3 weeks ago. Um, Especially being that this is a episode in our film series. An unbelievable author. I've actually, to be completely frank, the only book I've ever read from him was The Road, which was required reading, I think, in college or high school. I can't remember which, but
Probably I would
obviously
imagine college because I didn't
dark,
finish it, but yeah, no, it's
really
kind of
dark.
heavy. And it's one
Yeah,
of the first books I've honestly like ran into that was just like mm, it's just the text of like the characters. Like it's just like it's a lot of like the conversation. It's not a
mm-hmm.
lot of like world building. It's just you figure it out through the eyes of the
Yeah. It's like a character
protagonist.
study. It's a genuinely. I mean,
It's
it's
dude,
heavy. It's heavy
yeah.
stuff. It's really
Heavy's a good
heavy, and
word. It's
there's really also a lot of like I mean, I remember like the one thing that is noted in the book, and I can't remember if this was translated the same way in the film because the film was really good too. But like, there's really you don't really get you don't the character building is like almost disconnected from like identities. I don't think anyone has like a name. Like everyone's like like
you
I
just know
remember
the
reading the book
relations
and
between them.
yeah, I remember reading the book and that like dawning on me at one point that like I just like I don't this is not I'm not like affiliating a name with anyone, and like people are being referred to in like as like man or boy or woman
It's
or
easier to put yourself in the situation.
yeah, it is because you kind of just you can insert yourself a lot
Dude,
easier.
I think it's scary. The at
Yeah,
least
it's
the
scary.
road, the book and the movie.
I
It's
remember the film. I definitely remember the film being pretty good, but I haven't seen it in a very long time. But more notably, I guess for his career, for me at least, is like not so much that book. The book I'd love to read this book, but I've actually never got around to reading the novel. But No Country for Old Men obviously
ooh,
hit the cinema landscape in a monster way back in 2007. So I would
yeah.
say that was his
I've never
biggest
read it either.
contribution to film.
Also, I guess the book Blood Meridian
Mhm.
is like the darkest book like around, like to the point
Yeah, I've
where
heard
like
the same thing over and over
I've
about
heard
this book, and I have it's been on like my reading list for 10 plus years, and I
I
actually have just never gotten to it, and I wish I could,
I
and
heard
I
there's a
hope to one
reason.
day.
I heard there's a reason it hasn't been adopted to film because
Too dark.
exactly like it's really hard to just depict like just to depict something as like decrepit for like not that big of a reason for not that
I
big of I
guess
guess
it's
like a
like
payoff.
I guess it's about like I remember reading it's there's something involving like scalpings in the Comanche or something. Maybe not the
Yeah,
Comanche. And I'm talking
it's
out of my
like
history here.
Apaches or something.
Yeah,
Like
it's
it's
something
yeah,
about scalping. I remember scalping is involved in the book because I read about the book a million times and been like, God, this sounds incredible. I've really got to get my hands on this, and it's considered his like magnum opus. So,
right.
yeah, that's a monster book, and
And that's
I would love to I'd love to get my hands on it at some point.
and honestly, I'd say like No Country for Old Men. That's probably like one of, if not my favorite movie of all time. Like that
Yeah, I'm
is
right with you. I'm right with
it
you.
is
I genuinely think it's like a top
top
10
three,
maybe.
top
Yeah,
three in me.
I
It's
would say
top
top
three.
10. It's tough to put it top 3, but it might be, but it's definitely top 10 for me. It's such a almost it's one of those films that you're just like, well,
It's
that was pretty close to perfect. Right?
it's one of the first really well made movies that sucked me in where the good guy didn't win. And
No, he didn't.
I was like I didn't know that that was an option. I was like I
Not
thought
only did he not win, but he got killed like really unceremoniously. Like
dude, oh
you didn't
yes,
even you didn't even see
they
him
just
die,
roll up.
and
They
he's
just
already
roll up to
dead.
the scene, and he's like, "Yep, what do you think would have happened?" And then it's just the sheriff. He's like, "Yep, happens all
Yeah.
the time. Don't
I'm here to
nope,
tell you
probably
though,
not."
like that, in my opinion, that is more of a that's less of an achievement. Well, I hate to say that, in light of his like demise or whatever, but like for the film, of course, because I haven't got the book in my in my toolbox or anything like that. But the for the film's sake, that's more of a commentary about how good the Coen brothers are, and not as much of a commentary about how great of a writer Cormac McCarthy is, because the film works as a film because of the book, but it also would never be as good as it is without the Coen brothers, in my opinion.
Right? Yeah, no, that's
Because the Coen brothers just they did the damn thing with that one. I mean, it's top of the peak. That's the peak of the mountain for those guys.
I
Um,
guess I guess it's a lot more it's a lot more notable that the sheriff Tom Bell is like the protagonist in the book.
yeah, I think I've heard that before too. That he
Like
actually plays a bigger role in the book.
right because I did it didn't hit me until like the like third or fourth like watch through and like looking at some stuff. I was like, oh my god, it really like I'm like it's not about Llewellyn Moss. Like the story wouldn't continue after he died
Right.
if it was about
Right.
him. Like it is about the sheriff and his perspective.
Yeah.
He's like, you
I
know what,
kind of
some
like how they did that though, how they kind of shifted it. They made it like a thriller, and then like his like deep grappling with the challenges and difficulties of like aging in a like there's like philosophies
well
about aging, and
it's
it's
well with
amazing.
aging in general, it's with anything. It's society ages faster than you. It's the same
Right. The
reason why
changing of the guard, right?
yeah, all everyone like even nowadays these dang kids they don't understand
Right.
like you either adapt or you get ran over, and he was like, I'm probably fixing to get ran over if I don't get
Yeah.
going.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll one day we will 100%
Oh yeah,
be
oh, then not
unpacking
even a
that puppy
question.
at one point. Yeah, for sure. One of my favorite lines in that movie though is when he like I don't know why people don't find it as funny. Maybe I'm just not privy to like the Southern charm as much,
Is
but
it
like I
still
always
sweating?
oh the milk sweating. Yeah, I mean that's great
It's my
too. No,
favorite.
I like when they come across the crime scene and they're on the horseback and he's just like trotting around. He's just like he just looks at the Sheriff Bell and he goes, "Oh hell's bells! They even shot the dog." It
That's
just
how.
kills me every time. There's so much charm in that one line, and it's really
Right, but
dark.
that's how. Right, like he knows like if you're a desperado, it gets. But if you're even shooting the dog, they're like, this is a shootout. Like they
Well,
didn't
it was
even.
also, yeah, but it was also kind of like a play on the ignorance of the deputy because like
Yeah, because
it's
those are
definitely a
attack
drug.
dogs.
That's a drug dog. Yeah, it's a tech
Yeah.
dog for sure. Right. So it made him kind of look
But
like a dope.
right, but like
Oh,
just like,
Hills
oh
Bills, they even
man,
shot that dog.
you just thought someone ran up and just like bomb boom bing bong bing.
Yeah, for him it was like poor dog, but like the sheriff was just
Right.
like, yeah, this dog, I'm fine with this dog's death because it was probably pretty evil to
Dude, and
begin
then
with.
you
But
see that's not
yeah,
to.
it was
We're gonna,
vicious.
but dude, do the chase scene, man. When
We'll
he's
do
like
it. We'll
jumping
do
him
it. We'll
into
do
the
it one day.
river, I was like,
Yeah, oh, it's
yo,
unbelievable.
imagine
That
getting
seems
peppered with
so.
shotgun, you jump in the river, you're like, all right, at least I'm woo, woo, woo.
Yeah,
No.
that shit looks so real too. All right, we got to stop.
Yo,
No,
yeah, yeah. We
let's
gotta
pause on that
we
because
gotta talk
we could
about a
talk.
movie.
Yeah, we've got another movie to talk about today, but I also wanted to take a note to make a point to mark the also the untimely. I say untimely. I mean, he was 89 years old, but I do want to I want to speak about Alan Arkin also passed away, the actor, a
Oh
legendary
yeah.
actor, man. He was a great actor. Like um I knew about him from like what was there's a film from back in like the 60s. Let me pull it up. I'll pull up his filmography, but like he obviously most people kind of my age or of our age in our 20s and 30s probably are most familiar with him from Little Miss Sunshine being the grandpa. Because that was a huge hit and he like won an Oscar for it and this and that. But for me, it was always the I saw a film when I was younger called Wait Until Dark. That's it. Yeah, Wait Until Dark. He was like one of his first films, and it's a like this like terrifying like thriller that came out in the 60s, and they were really making movies like that and at the time. And I remember seeing it on like the 100 scariest movies or something. One of those like one of those like TV shows where they like break down the list of like scariest movie moments, and like that was
Yeah.
on it, and I was like, oh shit, this movie looks like genuinely scary. It's kind of old. And I watched it and it was like it was genuinely scary. The whole movie is scary. He's really good in it. So like of his catalog, that's the one I'd recommend. Because it's a pretty it's like it's a home invasion type scary movie, which is always cool.
Ooh.
Like those always work because
Really
people are
fun to
scared.
watch at night while you're
Yeah.
you know what I
Well,
mean?
you know what it inspires is like I remember the plot fairly well. I'm not going to try to unpack it too much here, but like the protagonist in it is an actress. I can't remember who the actress is. She's a big deal too from that era, but she plays a blind woman. Like she's blind,
Ooh.
and he's like, and Alan Arkin plays like the like a heroin smuggler or something. They're like smuggling drugs, and like they like tried to take advantage of her blindness by like arriving. They get to her apartment and they do like I don't know. I can't remember the exact details
They
of the
should have
plot.
rolled up during the day.
They try to take advantage of her, but like I remember there was a film that came out more recently, a horror film called Don't Breathe. You heard of
Because
that?
the guy was blind.
The guy was blind, and I remember thinking, "Oh, this is total. This is a total spin on Wait Until Dark for sure."
The Boondocks had an episode with the blind Negro samurai.
Oh, so they were playing on it too. See, it is a more
Well, it
well
was
known movie.
well, no, it's just I don't think it was a play on that, but it's just the trope that like when you're blind, your other senses are heightened.
Enhanced, right? Yeah,
So like you
that's
got like super hearing, super taste, super touch. Like if like someone creaks the door and you're blind, like and realistically, like there's portions of your brain or like synapses that are devoted to sight, to smell, to listening. If all you can do is the only inputs you have in your life is like listening, those things, it's going to be so like more finely tuned. Quick example, there's this one kid who was born blind. I was watching it on like a like Superhumans on like the Discovery Channel, and he used echolocation to like to sense his surroundings. He would just like and then listen to the sound
Ooh,
waves coming
right.
back. So his mother, she was like, I used to be worried about like him being playing in the street because the car's coming by, and then I realized like he hears the cars before any of the other kids even, you know
Yeah,
what I mean.
he's safer than
The three
everyone.
block yeah they're 3 blocks down, and he's like, I'm not gonna
Wow.
I'm not
Okay,
gonna mess
I
around, I'm
found
just
this
gonna
on the
pull off
web
to the
for hate.
side.
Sorry,
So
that was my Siri. But yeah,
but
no,
yeah,
that's
no,
that's actually a really good point. Well, I mean, that's just one of those tropes that like people kind of forget that like I mean, it's not to say that it's not, still like a
I'm
disadvantage to be
sorry.
blind, but um sorry, my Siri's going off. So anyway, yeah, so Alan Arkin, Wait Until Dark would be my recommendation. Great film from the 60s, late 60s. He had a bunch of obviously great films. He was in a ton of other movies. Great filmography. Go back and take a look at his work. He was great in a lot of things, and he's very good in basically everything. Great actor. He died on June 29th, 2023 at age 89. Um, but let's move us ahead a little bit, Erroll. What do you think? Let's actually take a short a little break here, and then we're gonna do a quick recap of our previous episode. We apologize for the delay. I know it's the holidays, and Errol and I
we
have
took a
had a
little
lot on
break
our plate.
too. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
it's
took a
okay
little
to take a
break.
break.
We're excited to come back, so we gotta.
Yeah, we're gonna come back strong. We're gonna push some content out for our the folks out that are listening now, and we'll keep it coming a little bit more at a steady stream as we can, obviously. But we took a little just a short little break for a couple of weeks. We had a lot going on, we have personal lives, professional lives, a lot of responsibilities to take care of, and Errol had some other creative endeavors to take on. I went on vacation, so but now we're back, and we're gonna take a short break now in the midst of this episode, and we will do a quick recap of the Wendy Carlos episode from our previous catalog here, and then after that, we'll talk about film in 2017, and then we're gonna dive into the film of the day. So hang with us. We'll be back in just a moment. Thanks. All right, thanks for hanging in through that break. We're back, Peripheral Views podcast. We're going to dive into a little bit of the previous episode. Our previous episode was on Wendy Carlos. It was but we did a biography episode on her. Dove into her backstory and her contributions to the world of music and film. Errol, what do you think we missed anything? What did you think about that episode? How we did? I thought we did a pretty good job of covering her story in the
I
most respectful and honest way we
I
could. And what did you think? If we missed anything, what do you think that is?
I do think we did a pretty earnest job at that. I do like I like this. I like that we put the story out there, and I like how we did it. There's only one thing that I kind of forgot that was almost like one of the reasons why like um I wanted to, not like the reason I wanted to mention it, but like a the time period was like perfect for it. So Um, Wendy Carlos, uh, she had her like a dysphoria and all that stuff in like the 1960s. Uh, and then she was like a child before that going through it. It said that she was going through that dysphoria when she was like six or so, like pretty young. Um, in Germany, in 1990 or 1919, they had a private institute for sexology called the Institute for Sexual Wissenschaft. And when Nazi Germany like started coming to power, they burnt it down. Um, so whenever like I hear nowadays, like everyone's like, oh, like why is all this like gender movement stuff like coming out of nowhere? Like it's just being like it feels like it's just like a brand new thing. Like it's never been a new thing. It's always been around, and there's always been like oppressive parties to come around and try to stop the conversation, just totally stop the conversation. And I personally don't think that that's okay. Granted, that's a really short really short um hill to die on. Uh,
Right.
but yeah, it's kind of telling that like the Nazi Party wanted to get rid of any kind of research about the subject, purge it, and then there was the whole like Crystal Knock where they're just like, oh, like let's just burn like every book, like let's just burn every
Yeah,
book,
Crystal
burn
Knock.
everything.
I actually just did a paper in college about Crystal Knock, and it was like, and it's like basically they're they basically just like the I mean, it's one of the most like blatant examples of like the destruction of ideology. Period.
Yes,
Like
and that's
just entirely destroying like ideas
well,
as a
and
concept.
and yeah, that's the most dangerous thing you can do because like
Right.
you can kill a person, but when you try to kill an idea, that's you're trying to like rewrite history.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why I'd consider myself LGBTQ plus or at least an ally, because if you try to take out one disadvantaged group, it's a lot easier to take out the next disadvantaged group. So I will stand for the least disenfranchised as much as I'll stand for the most disenfranchised because as a relatively disenfranchised race myself, and I looked up we're making bounds and stuff, but as a African American, I'd like to if I see anyone else that's fighting a similar battle, I'm there for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, and you know what? It's an interesting point, and I try to stray away from I try to stray away from having like a outspoken perspective on it. I mean, I have my opinions, of course, and I have my also have my skepticism about a lot of things and a lot of ideological causes, of course, as most people should. But as a as a I'm a white male in the United States, so like
White
there's
cis
only
male.
yeah, there's only so much that I can contribute to the conversation. I feel like it's my role is to until it comes up to my shores or it impacts me in like this in a direct way that I deem like either a extremely positive or b extremely negative. I think it's my time to just step back and let the conversation unfold. But like
I
I don't
think
want to contribute too much to it only because well,
not your
it's
fight to fight.
well, it's not only that. It's not my fight to fight, but it's a very sensitive topic. A lot of these things are sensitive topics, and it's hard to provide an opinion that I might feel is objective, but would be perceived as subjective because of my race or my identity or
Situation.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, and that's fine. I do think there's a lot of tomfoolery with a lot of ideological causes and identity politics. In my personal opinion, if I'm actually going to announce my political opinion on this matter, I do find that there's a little bit of like I don't think identity politics particularly is like while there's obviously a place for it because there's progress to be made. I don't enjoy it. It's like I mean it's not that it's here for me to enjoy or that it's supposed to be
Here's
enjoyable. It's just a difficult thing to it's difficult to for me on a moral level grip with that battle and try to like I don't know. It's becoming like tethered to morality, which is like I mean everything is tethered to morality in some respect, but I find it difficult for me sometimes to like be super excited to talk about identity politics when I just think that like um, I don't know. There's just more. I think there's more productive ways to talk about people.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I think the most important thing that anyone can do is to educate themselves on the subject, just so you're not a victim of the identity politics. Because people, there's an agenda out there. Whether you any kind of media, whether you're online, whether you're watching TV, they want to sell you something. They want to sell you an idea. They want to get you upset. They want to make you feel some kind of way. Educate yourself on the subject so you're not just reading some kind of article and just being like, oh, this is ridiculous, because a lot of the times, almost everything's a lot deeper than it seems. But I think it's a I want to say it's an important thing to kind of know about, just in case you run into someone who happens to like have like something going on, like so you can be there and be supportive of
Yeah, and
them.
it's like
Or
this. It's in both, and this can apply to both. This is like this this is the golden rule. I mean, this is the golden rule, and it's been the golden rule for a very long time, and it's the gold. It's considered the golden rule for a reason, which is that like, and this goes for both sides of basically every social issue or socio political issue is like, just don't be an asshole. Stop being a dick to people.
yeah, treat other
Like
people how you'd want to be treated. Like
right, and
if
that
I
mostly
wouldn't
goes for people who are like being intolerant of like transsexual people or homosexual people or anybody in that category in those categories in the LGBTQ group. Um, however, like that also goes for like the intolerance of like people of people who are in a position who might not be educated. Like you also have to
yeah,
have tolerance for people who might not like you have to it has to go both ways. Everything has to go both ways, and there has to be a tolerance for people who might not get the pronoun thing right on the first go, or might not get it on the 10th go because it's new and different. Like we all have to be a little bit more graceful with one another, and that goes across the board as far as I'm concerned.
oh yeah, but the act of having to be more tolerant usually ends on the I feel like it usually ends on the other side. It's hard to be subjected to like an overall idea and then try to be like, well, we can like convince people eventually. It's I don't want to say it gets tiresome, because there's always like battles being fought, but it definitely does it takes a lot of tolerance on both sides. And I wish more people would take some time to, like, like we said in the last podcast, you get to know your neighbor. Well, just
Yeah,
get to talking to people in the community.
and be graceful. Like that's what I think is like the most important thing. Like just be graceful with one another. Like it's a tough country to live in at this time, and
Yeah,
we
you
don't have to
you don't
spend too
need to
much time on it. But like
you don't need to
it
be the
is tough.
worst part about, so you don't need to be the worst aspect of someone's day.
Yeah,
Doesn't
that's
need to
so
be
true.
you.
That's so true. Just
Yeah.
and also like I think people should spend a little bit more time being like um and trying to get out of the and it's so hard when people watch Fox News or they watch CNN or they're just like I heard a woman today in Home Depot like specifically she was just it's the 4th of July it's and like she just didn't get the message she just didn't get the message did not hit her system that like today is not about that because she was espousing to a 17-year-old working at Home Depot that like today's all about freedom and you better find some time today to enjoy your freedom because we might not have it much longer the way this country's going. Like she was just saying this to some kid trying to earn a paycheck and like hey he doesn't care and like the fear mongering is like it's a little nauseating and
Well, yeah,
it's
that
also just
bullying.
like most importantly it's like a the pretend game that the world is ending is like is I mean that's goofy to begin with because that
The world's
there's
been
been
ending since the
yes
1800s. No,
thank you
sorry, the world's
yes
been ending since the dawn of time.
yeah I mean this is we've gone through crisis as a species crisis after crisis and you know what it's you hear stuff like that and it's like man everybody needs to stop paying so much attention to their like Facebook groups and their
Echo
their
chambers is
news.
what it is.
Yeah,
People are
yeah,
really
just
comfortable in their echo chambers.
not even just the echo chamber. Just turn the screen off. Just turn the screen off. Like that's what I think. I think that's the biggest thing that toxifies the mind is like just this constant stream of information. Even if you have a good healthy balance of info, that's like balancing your political perspective or balancing your overall perspective, like being able to just turn that off and go be in touch with like what's most important, whether that's your family or your loved ones or your community or your passions or your interests or your responsibilities. Even if it's like Thomas Jefferson once said, like there's nary a blade of grass I wouldn't find interesting. And to me that's like, damn, that like that's the world, that's the real world, not like not your Reddit stream or your forums or your Facebook group or your Twitter feed. Like that's the real world. The real world is more interesting than people are willing to give it credit, and I think
Dude,
people should spend a little more time with it.
hard to disengage, man.
Truly, it's an addiction, and that's half the problem. Is that it's there. It's this stuff is designed to like engage with dopaminergic responses of the brain. Like this is why it's been designed to do that. By and it's not conspiratorial. This is real. This is how it's been since social media has been a part of everyone's life, and social media equals mainstream media. By the way,
We should talk about it sometime.
mm-hmm. Agreed. So we can shift back into a away from the politics for a few, but like I agree that was we tried to time that episode with Pride Month. It landed right smack dab in the middle of it, so that was well timed. And I thought we did a pretty good job on it. It was fun talking about her story, and her story is like obviously paved the way for a lot of people, both in film and music. So huge episode. Moving into the next section of today's podcast. We're going to talk about some recent films. I wanted to throw a few out there. Errol, I'm not sure if you have any you wanted to contribute as well, but I'll get us started. I watched a film that I had seen many years ago at this point called Eastern Promises. This was by David Cronenberg, starring Viggo Mortensen,
Okay.
and
Watertown
kick
alum.
yeah, Watertown alum. Kick ass movie, by the way, an unbelievable film. It was it was a great rewatch. Super happy to rewatch that one. I showed my wife it, and she was really enthralled with it too. Um, he's just great in it. He's just amazing. Like he plays a Russian mobster. It's basically the story about like um, just this Russian mob in London who's like they're up to no good. They're up to some like um, they're kind of getting they're starting to hit the radar a little bit of the law enforcement.
Hmm.
Good little thriller. It's like it's a little slow at parts, but it's well worth your time because there's some like really big payoff scenes, and like David Cronenberg is legendary as a filmmaker. So you and with his backstory and the films he's made, you're getting some violence. So that's in there too.
But yeah, you know you're getting a lot of gore.
Yeah, he worked it in there. Don't you worry. Another one I rewatched was Tropic Thunder, which is like I don't. Have you ever seen Tropic Thunder? Does that hit your?
Oh yeah. Oh my god,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my god, man, that movie has some fucking like gut punch laughs. Like it's just so good, front to
The
back.
whole premise of Robert Downey Jr. just acting a guy who like is not in blackface because that's like that would be racist if he did blackface. So he did like a pigmentation
Yeah, he did
like
like a
surgery.
pigmentation transplant. Yeah. I mean, that's so funny to me that like because you could probably never get away with that now. I almost guarantee that nobody's even gonna try to touch that. But like the fact that like Ben Stiller was like, okay, there's only one way we're getting away with this, and there's only one way it'll even age well. And in my opinion, it worked. It worked, and like it don't. I think it only works because he has like a black co-star that just calls him out on his racist bullshit the whole time.
And he does
Um,
like he is like, oh man, like well, it's the acting trope. You wouldn't know about it because you didn't star in a play, but I kind of have a more intimate knowledge
I mean, are
into
you
it.
gonna ride this hobby horse for the rest of this podcast, like
I
all
mean,
the way home?
dude, I might just write it out until I'm in Hollywood.
I mean, listen, don't forget about me back here in the peripheral views world. Okay, we've
Forget
got a
about
lot
who.
to accomplish here.
But yeah, no, it's he loses himself. It's almost the same spiel that Edward Norton's character has in Birdman, like where he only feels alive like when he's acting. He only feels authentic when he's an actor, which is like what a juxtaposition. It's a paradox. Because
Okay,
when you're
yeah,
act
yeah.
yeah, because when
I
you're
see where
acting,
you're going. Yep.
when you're acting, you are playing another character. But that's like he ends up coming to terms that like the situation is serious and that he is actually like an actor in the middle of the Vietnam War,
Yeah.
but he has to like come to terms with that. So he has to
Yeah,
like
it's like
take
layered and shit. Like the whole thing is
right,
like that too, because it's like a film within a film within a film, and he's an actor
right. Yeah,
within an
well,
actor
that's
within an actor.
I think that's exactly it. So like what
It's
you're saying,
kind of brilliant.
it's a film within a film, so it's a satire, but he's an actor acting as another actor portraying a different person. So, so I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
Yeah, yeah,
But then
you
you
nailed
you
it.
put in another level on that because he's acting the
Right.
dude disguised.
Yeah.
He's playing a dude that's playing a dude
It's
disguised as
so
a
good.
dude playing
Yeah.
another dude. So
It's
there's like
so good.
four levels of fucking like it's like how do you deliver that like with this fucking straight family?
What I want to know is not only that, but like, how did Ben Stiller, like, how much fun was it to develop that character in the writing room with Ben Stiller? Like, when they all sat down, like how hard was everyone laughing when Ben Stiller was like, because he wrote the movie, he wrote, directed it. Like, when he's pitching that, like, how hard is that room
It's
just
something that you
dying?
could only make. It's a movie like you could only make if you were an actor.
Yeah,
Like
it's
it's
true.
like the
Yeah, no.
satire that you could
Well,
only
because it's also
deliver.
spitting in the whole movie is like spitting in the face of like the pretentiousness of like Hollywood and like
Right.
actors and their like prima donna behaviors, and it's just so great. It's such a great, like, it's a timeless movie, and it's a classic Ben Stiller movie where it's like Ben Stiller made movies that were always like kind of spoofs on things. I implore our listeners to go back and watch an old interview with Ben Stiller and Tom Cruise where like Ben Stiller plays he plays Tom Cruise's like stunt
It's
double.
uncanny.
It's so funny. I can't even that
Like
video
Tom
is
Cruise is
so
uncomfortable. He's like,
yeah. Well, no, he's not. He's just that good of an actor. He's just
he
like an
looks
unbelievable
uncomfortable.
actor. He does a great job in that because it's a skit. The whole thing's a total skit, and it's unbelievably funny. Um, but anyway, so that's Tropic Thunder. And the last one I want to pitch at you guys, our listeners, if I can make any recommendation, this would be my number one recommendation for this period of time so far of new films that I hadn't seen before. I saw Nope by Jordan Peele. I just finished that up last night, and oh my god, like this dude, I've never been more impressed with a filmmaker than this dude, Jordan Peele.
Really?
Yeah, because I had never I saw Get Out way
See, I didn't
back.
see Get Out either.
Oh damn, man! Like you are in for some fun. Like
I don't know. I don't know why, but I don't like Jordan Peele.
you don't like Jordan Peele?
I
You
don't
don't
know
like him
why, but I don't
in
know.
Key and Peele, or you don't like his movies?
I don't really like him in Key and Peele because I feel like they're just biting Dave Chappelle, just doing like what he could have
A little
done if he
bit,
didn't want to do it.
yeah, a little bit.
But also,
I
like
can
I
see where
thought,
you're coming from.
I didn't think it was like as funny. Like, and that's granted, this is like just a serious trope into it, or like a serious kind of like dig into like horror or whatever. But I don't know. I
Bro.
didn't
Let
know.
me just
I
tell
was
you.
lost on it. It seemed too much like a relevant social commentary, and
No, I'm telling you, you will. I'm not gonna guarantee that you'll like it because everybody's got their own takes and their own. You've got taste in film that's different than mine, and
I don't
vice
like
versa.
going
But
into
like,
movies feeling like the victim.
no, you will not. You won't. You because here's what happened to me when I started the film and I felt like that. I felt like because it does kind of start this way, right? It starts a little interesting and it kind of way more than you think. And this is now we're talking about Get Out instead of Nope, but we will. I promise you, if you watch it, you'll want to do a podcast on it. We can totally do that at some point. But
Okay, okay. I hear
um,
it's really good, and I hear it's
it's
been
no,
really
it's literally
well
great.
received.
Because I thought the same thing. Because when I originally watched it when it came out, I saw the first like 20-30 minutes of it, probably about 30-45 minutes. The opening scene is like very shocking, and they're like, I was like, oh, okay, I'm interested. And then it started to lose me because I started feeling like I was getting hit over the head with the social commentary.
Yeah,
Like, I don't need to be clubbed to death that like white people are lame as shit. Like, believe me, I know.
I
Like,
know it. Yeah,
yeah, like you don't have to tell me how like goofy we are and how we can be like accidentally racist sometimes without even knowing it because we're just like our nose is so far up our own ass. Like, I don't need to be told this. Like, first of all, that's not all white people, by the way. And like B, like it's kind of just like I
it's a
don't need
lot of
to.
y'all motherfuckers. I'm just
Not even
kidding.
that.
I'm
It's just
just
like,
kidding.
well, it's hilarious. It was no, the line is actually this like, well, did you know that I voted for Obama a second term? Like a lot of that kind of thing. Like that's an actual line from a white character in the film, and I'm just like, oh my god, like you're kind of you're almost insulting white people a little bit that they're like, and then because it was like almost like the insinuation is that like white people are so lame that they don't know how to like engage with black people, which is definitely true to some degree, but like this was like all the obvious tropes, like the shit that Dave Chappelle's been making jokes about forever. And
Right.
it was like, oh, okay, this is kind of obvious. And then this is what you just have to get through that. And I promise there's like a twist, a turn in the plot, and like things like ramp up in a gear that like you're just not suspecting. And it gets by the end of the film, I guarantee you, Errol, you will be like, wow, this is actually one of the smartest movies I've ever seen.
What is it like? What if white people were actually evil?
No, no, no. Well, Jesus. Would I actually be espousing this film to you
You're like he
for like
knows too
race
much.
hatred?
You
Yeah,
wouldn't be
no,
talking about the
I
movie.
don't. No, I'd just be like,
Yo, here's a movie you
watch that
shouldn't
goddamn movie,
watch.
bro.
Here's a movie you shouldn't watch. Let's Get Out. It's
Watch
stupid.
that goddamn movie. Get out. Don't waste your time on that bullshit.
If you watch that
Giving
movie
away
Get
our
Out,
secrets.
you can get out.
But anyway, Nope was like a not a follow up to Get Out, but it was like it was his third film. He had another one in there called Us. I haven't seen that yet, but Nope's like this like really fun like, and there's some social commentary too, but it's actually a lot less obvious. And it was really fun. It was like about UFOs in like um
Eldritch
in
Gods.
yeah, well, in what? Sorry.
Eldritch Gods.
No, well, no, it's more about like spectacleism is like kind of the target, but the UFOs represent like some spectacleism, and there's a lot to talk about in that film too because that one's got a lot of like there's like these you'll I don't know why, but like the film feels like it's like piecemealed by like a lot of like Reddit jokes, in my opinion, which is going to be right up your alley. And I mean that complimentary, like not in a bad way at all. Like it's really funny.
Full with a bunch of Reddit jokes.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny and it's good. Nope was like it was a lot of fun. I lost me a little bit in the ending, but it was really good. So,
Fair
did
enough.
you have any films that you wanted to watch, or were you only able to get around to the one we're talking about today?
Yeah, no, just the one. I had to rewatch it a bunch. But Get Out was a good segue into because that was a 2017 film.
Yeah, so let's take a short break. We'll take just a couple seconds here off, just a quick 30-second break. And then we'll dive into film in 2017. We'll kind of push through that stuff, and then we will start our dissection of the Death of Stalin from 2017. So let's take a quick break. We'll be back with film in 2017. Hang tight. Okay, welcome back, Peripheral Views podcast. We spent the first big chunk talking about a lot of things. We talked about the film a little bit. We talked about our previous episode, a couple of unfortunate deceased members of Hollywood and in literature, for that matter. But let's talk about 2017, big year for films. There was a lot of huge movies that came out. It was kind of like almost, in my opinion, it's almost one of the last like big years I can recall where like there was like 10 or more like great films that came out. Errol,
The old
what films stand out for you from that year?
the old high watermark.
Yeah.
Good question. You know what? I It took me a while to watch Baby Driver. I really like that. Dunkirk might be my favorite movie of the year if it wasn't for Logan.
Logan's great.
I'm
Logan's
a
great.
sucker, dude. I'm a sucker for superhero stuff. I won't
Did
talk about
Logan
it
come
that
out that
much.
year? Are you sure
Yeah,
Logan came out that year?
2017 Logan, dude.
Logan, that was a badass movie. That movie was kick ass.
Really good, dude.
Way better than like any other X-Men movie I think pretty much I'd ever seen.
Yeah, dude.
Watched it on a
Almost way
plane. It was
better than
great.
any like just superhero movie, like just a
Yeah.
gritty superhero movie.
Nasty,
Um,
right? Like real violent, real like gritty.
yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah, and
was
like
pretty
it
ruthless.
was another one where it's like, yo, he's like dying, like it's like the
Right at
superheroes
the
like
beginning too, right?
yeah, like he's not like necessarily gonna like win it. There's a couple really cool Easter eggs. There was like the old dead Ant Man, if I'm not mistaken, like just a giant dead Ant Man skeleton because he could either shrink or he can grow. So he was like fighting something, but he died in the desert. So it's just like his bones, like just a giant human, but it's him.
Cool. Yeah, no, you know, and it's funny because I didn't have that on my list, but that was definitely one of my favorites. I would say for me, I kind of agree with you. I think Baby Driver was, you know, funny enough, my wife and I our first date we saw Baby Driver. That was like on our first date we saw Baby Driver because I was like
Oh, okay.
obviously huge fan of Edgar Wright and like he did like obviously the Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and World's End. And I was just like, I'm such a huge fan of those movies. I was like, I'll watch
That this
anything
can't
this
be
dude puts
bad.
out. Yeah, this is gonna be good. And then it totally delivered as far as I'm concerned.
It's
I
a fun
mean,
movie. I wish I would have watched that in theaters.
yeah, it is a ton of fun, and it's like it's full of like all those same like little. I mean, there are Easter eggs in that one too, but they're like it's more so like the clever shots where like they're very choreographed with the music and all that, like the same stuff that he was doing in his previous films. But he's just such a
Even
great filmmaker.
like you were saying though, this is a really good year because even then I feel like with all the stuff that we're saying, I feel like we're doing a disjustice to Dunkirk. It was really good.
Yeah, Dunkirk was literally that's
Dunkirk
one of
was
the greatest
great,
war
dude.
movies ever.
I really
I
liked
saw
it.
that with you in the theater. You remember? We saw that
Yeah.
together.
Oh yeah. That
Yeah, that
was
one was a
yeah.
monster. That was Chris Nolan, and that was like I genuinely thought that to me that was one of the
I
best
like
war movies I've ever seen.
I would go Logan, Dunkirk, Baby Driver, but the difference between like Baby Driver and Dunkirk would probably be like it'd be pretty great. Like it's
Yeah, it's
those are both the only reason Logan tickles that fancy spot is because I like superheroes. I'm a Marvel. I got a soft spot for Marvel. I got a soft spot for DC. I got a soft spot for anime.
yeah. I
So
got
I
to be
really
honest though.
like it well portrayed.
I don't think I could give it to like none of those were my absolute favorite. I would say that well, no, I shouldn't say it like that. I should more so I will say I think it's really difficult for me to say that Dunkirk was not the best movie that came out that year.
Right. That's
Um,
what I'm saying for
I
sure.
think Dunkirk's probably that's because it's just one of the greatest war films ever made.
Yeah,
But just
I'll
to
agree
mention
with
a
that.
few more, because there are a few more really good movies. Three billboards. That's three billboard. I'm sorry, three billboards. Let me get the exact title because it is a tricky one. Billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. That was Martin McDonough, and that dude is an unbelievable filmmaker. He's the guy who made In Bruges and Banshees of Inisherin.
Oh,
Yeah, Three Billboards is unbelievably good, man. I watched that on the same flight that I watched Logan. I watched those two movies together
oh,
on an
dang,
airplane,
good flight.
back to back too, and it is great. Like it's a very like kind of low key great film.
I'll have to watch it because I really like Banshees of Inisherin.
Yeah, no, Martin McDonough is like this, like he's kind of like a Quentin Tarantino esque, where like he's really good with dialogue. He's a good writer.
You know what? I kind of got that from Banshees of Inisherin, but it's just like it's like if you took Quentin Tarantino and like took out the Michael Bay, like you would
Yeah,
get him. Like you know what I mean? Like if
right.
you took out like the shotguns and like all the blood, like
Right.
it's you
Yeah.
could the most like a shocking moment of Banshees of Inisherin, you don't even see it. It's just a thud, and you're
Yeah.
like,
There's
dude,
not a ton of like.
you're like, dude, he threw that finger.
There's more. There's
Like,
more. Let me tell you though. There is more. There's a lot. That's a unique one for him though, because there is some like in this movie. There's some like shocking moments. There, he's more like the Coen brothers to me, actually, a little bit, because like
Oh yeah,
he's very silly with his dialogue, and it is like it's not. There's always some weird accent, and In Bruges is kind of like that too. In Bruges is like it's very like dialogue driven, and then boom, shocking like violence. There's like Tarantino. It's like a cross between Tarantino and Coen Brothers, but that was a great one to watch. Logan Lucky was fucking awesome, dude. I don't know if that one hit your radar too. This was a great year for movie. Now that I'm going through it all, Logan Lucky was amazing. We talked about Get Out. Um, Blade Runner, the second Blade Runner film came out that year. Um, there was a western called Hostiles
within
that was
cells.
great. I'm sorry.
I said sorry. Within cells,
In Blade Runner, is that what went down in Blade Runner?
interlinked.
I didn't see it.
Oh yeah, no, that was. It was like the one scene from it, like he's getting like questioned, and like they're just like asking him a bunch of. He's like within cells, interlinked. It's
I see. I see.
no, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
that's like
I thought you saw it. I'm sorry.
that's no. I did. I actually may have. You know what's funny? My wife has seen that because we went to the movies and I totally conked out like immediately. It's a
Yeah,
little
no,
slow.
it's the base. It's
Slow.
like the base test line, and they're
You know
just
what it is? It's the fucking Blade Runner movies. Both of them are just so dark, like lighting wise. Like they're just so dark.
it's the cyberpunk.
Yeah, it
The only
is exactly
brightness
what it
the
is.
because here's the thing with cyberpunk utopia, the only light you see is from the corporations. It's like
Yeah,
it's
they only let you see what they want you to see.
it's exactly it's a social
Yeah,
commentary. Like it's like to
right.
the point where like all the if you look at the skies and almost every single like even like some Star Wars
It's like
stuff where it's like
marketing
a
constantly. Yeah,
dude it's always just like a just clouded, you don't see the sun, you just
yeah,
see the artificial lights, and it's a no it's like a commentary on like the fluorescent lights, like you're just
yeah.
you're no matter what, your everyday life is at the whim of the corporation,
Yeah,
and
I
it's
could see
a
that.
yeah, and it's just more so
I could see them really tackling that. That's pretty cool. So another film from that year. This will be the last one, and then we'll move on. But unless you've got something else, but Call Me by Your Name came out that year, and that's a that is a great movie. And I know that it was like it's not whatever. It's not the first movie to like take to be like to try to break down the like homosexual barrier of like
I only
a
oh my god, is that does that have anything to do with the Lil Nas X song?
with what
The Lil Nas X song? Call Me by Your Name?
maybe it
Has to
might.
be.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Has to be.
It came out
I've
that
never
year.
seen
It's
the
really
movie.
fucking long. I remember Ashley and I saw it in the theater when it came out, and it was I remember being like unbelievably long, but it flew by, and it's very emotional. Like it's very like hard to watch at scenes. You feel really like you feel a lot of different types of ways in it. It kind of drags you all over the place emotionally. It's a powerful film though, very very powerful. It's also like beautiful. It takes like the whole thing is shot in Italy, I believe, or
I
somewhere.
like Timothy Chalamet too.
He's a
So
great actor, man. He's an
yeah,
unbelievable actor, and he's
hell yeah.
great in this. And like him and Army Hammer, who they play like I mean, it's a little weird. There's definitely a little bit of weirdness because he's like Army Hammer's character is like older, and Chalamet's character is younger. He's like underage, which makes you yeah, it's a little weird to like. They have like a relationship that develops. It doesn't feel weird in the film. He's 17 and the
He
um
grooms him.
yeah, the character's in his mid 20s, so it's not like there's this huge age gap, but it's a little bit to make you think that this probably shouldn't be going on.
I
Um,
googled "Call Me by Your Name" and then the one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. The eighth thing is age gap.
oh, is it? Yeah, yeah, it is. It
But
does
then
make you
yeah, no,
feel a
there's
little weird.
the Lil Nas X Montero "Call Me by Your Name."
Yeah, I think it was
I
probably.
wonder
I
if
mean,
it was
around that,
inspired by.
it's around that time too. So, it's a great film. It really is a great film. It's got a lot to offer, and it's very like, um, it's sad in moments. It's got a lot. It's very unique too. Like besides the fact that it's like a coming of age romance about two protagonists who are homosexual, which is like kind of like groundbreaking. But it also offers like it's still very
You ain't
unique.
watched Brokeback?
Yeah, Brokeback probably that broke down the freaking that broke
I'm
the
not gonna
fence.
let
That
you
broke
sit
down.
there and talk. Yeah, I was like, he's the first
That was the
one. I was like, I
one.
won't let you. Heath with Heath
I
Ledger.
said it was one of the first, but Brokeback is definitely the first. Brokeback is also one of the best fucking movies of the
It's
last
a
like
good
20 years.
movie,
That's a
man.
goddamn great movie.
I was ready. So I
Great
because it
movie.
came out
Yeah.
when we were young.
Oh yeah, when you're a
I was
teenager, you're
ready.
not watching that shit.
I wasn't even a teenager. I was like a preteen, and I like, well, maybe like a teenager. I was ready to be like, oh, like what the heck is that? I was like, this is just a good movie.
Oh,
This is a really good movie. I was like, they love each other. I was like, what
it
the
is
fuck
a
do you
good
mean?
movie, man. It
I was
is
like,
a
it's not.
fucking good
What do you
movie.
mean? I was,
That's a great movie. It's
it
just a
felt
straight up great movie.
the sex scenes felt just as awkward as any other sex scene in any movie that I watched
That's
because
what
at
I'm
the
saying.
yeah, it was
People
still
always
like
make this like anybody who is just like, I don't want to watch this gay sex scene. It's like I don't want to watch any sex scene. They're always
yes,
fucking weird.
exactly. That's
They're always
you can
weird.
allude to it. I'll be fine. But that's I would have
I
had
know. If they
just
only
of
did that.
awkward as a moment watching that scene with my mom if it was like the Titanic one.
Oh, of course. Yeah, because I
It's
don't want to see that shit. It's
going
like I
on.
just let me know. Just somehow pass the message along that it's
Right, yeah, but
it's annoying. It's really
no,
annoying. And there is
it
some
was,
of that in this film too. And Call Me by Your Name, there is a little bit of that where it's
dude.
like
No, yeah,
it's
no, I'll be
cringy. It's cringy no matter what. And it's like I don't need to see that. And just like it's uncomfortable for like probably a lot of very, very legitimate like
because you're
social
supposed to be
reasons.
uncomfortable. You're
Yeah.
supposed to
Well, yeah.
make you
I want to make you feel uncomfortable.
if you
Oh,
don't feel
thanks.
if
We've
you don't
accomplished
feel good
that.
about if you don't feel nice about it, I want you to feel awkward. You better feel
Yeah.
some kind of way though. Either way, you better feel something.
Hey, if they're not feeling something that like that's
Then the
they ain't
movie
talking
isn't
about the
working.
movie. They
Yep,
won't talk. Yeah, they
exactly.
won't talk about the film. They want to make
No, but
sure that
that's
their
I
things are
it.
felt.
It's weird though. I never even thought about that until like right now. Like, dude, Brokeback Mountain. I was like, that's a good movie. I've never
Yeah.
like, I've never said it out loud. I've never been like, what? I was like,
Yeah.
that. No,
No,
that's
between that and
nice.
Call Me by Your Name, they're both like genuinely great movies. All like great movies of that whatever year they came out, they were among the best movies of that year. And I'll yeah, I throw that's in the mix. I would say for me, it's probably Get Out. I would say Dunkirk's the best film of that year. Baby Driver and Get Out would be my three picks for that year because Get Out really is great.
Yeah, no,
But
mine would
what?
be
Go ahead.
Dunkirk,
Yeah,
Logan, and then
Baby Driver.
Baby Driver. Yeah.
Yeah, good picks. Good picks. Great movie. Great set of movies from that year. But let's take a short break, and we are going to finally get into it. It's only been an hour and 20 minutes since we.
Promise we will. We'll talk
Yeah, no,
about it.
we got to get into it. We're going to dive right into our film of the day. Hang tight. Sit through this quick break. We're going to get set up, ready to go, and we are going to talk next about 2017's black political comedy, The Death of Stalin. Hang tight, and we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back to the Peripheral Views podcast. We are finally going to dig our teeth into this one. This is a 2017 political satire black comedy film written and directed by Armando Iannucci and co-written by David Schneider and Ian Martin with Peter Fellows. It is The Death of Stalin. It is an awesome, unbelievably funny, raucous film from 2017. Which we just got done mentioning was a great year for film, and I would throw this into the top of the heap for that year. Like I said, directed by Armando Iannucci, he did some work on the hit TV show Veep, and some other stuff too. He was pretty accomplished, and he got to make this movie. This movie wasn't a huge box office success, but it was critically acclaimed. It was very well received by critics, film critics, and professionals in the field. Screenplay was written by Fabien Nury. It's based on a French graphic novel, La Mort de Stalin. The film depicts the internal social and political power struggle among the members of Council of Ministers following the death of Soviet leader Joseph Stalin in 1953. It's got an ensemble cast. Starring in the film is Steve Buscemi as Nikita Khrushchev, sorry. Simon Russell Beale as Lavrenti Beria. Patty Considine as the director of Andreev, director of Radio Moscow. So he's right in the opening. If you don't recognize him, he's in Peaky Blinders. He was in like World's End. He was in a bunch of stuff. He's a good actor, good English actor. Playing Stalin's son is Rupert Friend, Vasily Stalin as Vasily Stalin's son. Jason Isaacs plays Field Marshal Georgy Zhukov, who was at the time the head of the Soviet Army. He's the guy from The Patriot. Do you remember him from The Patriot, Erroll?
No, but I remember him from no, I don't remember him from The Patriot.
he was like the villain. He was like the red coat in The Patriot from like back in the day. He was like a total dick in that movie, and he's a dick in this one, but he's fucking hilarious.
Doesn't he play like a lawyer in some TV show?
Yeah, he might.
Or am I thinking John Hamm?
Yeah, he kind of looks like John Hamm a little bit. You might be mixing him up with John Hamm. That's very possible. He's a great actor.
He's like John Hamm without the college ball torture.
Yeah, he's also fucking hilarious in this movie, is he not? Like, he is one of the funnier characters in this film. I mean, he was. Well,
also, it's like he plays a very good military general. The second he comes into the scene, like he.
I buy it with the scars and shit.
Yeah, and he exudes like the confidence of a general. Like he just.
Surely.
Once we get into it, like the second he becomes like a character, like he's a military general, he gets the ball rolling. Like he's like, let's do this, and then like boom boom bam, like it fucking
get everything done. Once there's a mission, what like that part towards the end where like they're
where he's like
plotting the setup, he's like, we're doing this.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Finishing up, Michael Palin plays Yakoshlev Molotov. I believe that's how it's pronounced. I'm gonna butcher a lot of these, so just bear with me, listeners.
It's like the cocktail.
Yeah, like that one's easy. Well, Molotov is easy, but the first name is like a mess for me at least. Who else is Jeffrey Tambor plays Georgy Malenkov, who is, I mean, that's probably my favorite performance in the film. I think he's fucking unbelievably hilarious. I mean, he's a riot throughout. He's just got some great fucking one-liners. And that's it for like, I guess, the major. I mean, obviously Adrian McLaughlin played Joseph Stalin, and even though the film is called Death of Stalin, Joseph Stalin's not really in the film all too much. He dies pretty early in the film, the character playing him at least. And the actor playing Stalin, dead ringer. What do you think? I mean, pretty on point. Not bad, right? I mean, Jesus, he looks quite a bit like him.
Yeah, it's kind of uncanny, but he also kind of looks like Albert Einstein. So
there was a little bit of that. I got a little bit of an Einstein vibe from his look too. The film was shot by cinematographer Zach Nicholson. Cinematography doesn't play a huge role in the film. There's definitely some moments where he's kind of putting his skills on display, but it's not
a lot of the times in like the forest shots. It feels like.
Yeah, he made sure to make it's also like I think a lot of the shots of like Russia were pretty like gorgeous but yet dark. There was like a beautiful shot of the Kremlin, and it was like at sunset or something, and it's very ominous. It's ominous but like pretty, like, and they let you know that like Russia's a beautiful country architecturally, but like at the time was also a very dark and like oppressive place.
Yeah.
The music was done by Christopher Willis, and it was produced by Jan Zenu, Laurent Zaitun, Nicholas Duval Adavsky, I'm sorry, Kevin Loader. So those are your producers, your writers, your directors, your actors, your cinematographers. and your musical composition. So those are the folks, the major players, and obviously, film has a lot of people involved, but those are your major players in the production of the film. Um, the film is a powerhouse of acting performances, and I was going to say this to you, Errol, and that because I thought you might actually appreciate this comment about the film. Does the film not feel a little bit like a play to you?
It does. Well,
It's
and
got
here's the
vibes of
thing,
that.
well, the thing is too, there is acts, and if I
For
were to
sure.
have to, as an actor, if I were to, I was in a play. If you didn't know, I was in a couple actually. Um, the acts, I would have to break them down into the procedures
Hmm.
that you had to go through when the acting comrade in action died, and that was they had the it was the same thing they used in the beginning, the same like red like background with like the text that would just be
Right.
like, oh, like during this part, like if he dies you're supposed to do this, or if he's going to die you had to have a like a meeting, and then like but yeah, I'd say the plays are broken up by that,
Yeah. Well, a lot of the
or
film,
the
I was
scenes.
reading that a lot of the film was like improvised, right? So like
Mm-hmm.
and this was, I guess, one of the reasons why the director was like very insistent on not having the characters speak Russian or with the Russian accents, because he didn't want the actors to not be able to like effectively improvise their lines.
Right.
And I think that does the film a lot of justice. Like it was kind of like because that I think that's what gave it a bit of like a Saturday Night Live skit feel, where
Well,
like guys are kind of bouncing off each other.
that's what gives like anything life, if you ask me, is if you can feel comfortable enough in a character to like say something that you think the character would say, then that is going to be more often than not, if you ask me, it's better than what is written, because it's
Right.
more authentic.
It can be, yeah, because it's coming
It's more
from
authentic to you, to
right
the
to the
acting.
actor, right to the
Yeah.
actor, exactly. Yeah, and I agree with that. And I thought that the only complaint I'll really have about the acting is basically, and it's funny because it's coming from the guy who I'll say this about the actor who I actually thought put on the best performance, but there's a couple of moments where like Buscemi is so good throughout most of the film that when he's not good, it's almost noticeable. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that like all the other actors except for Malenkoff who was played by Jeffrey Tambor, everybody else has an English accent, and those two are the only ones with American accents.
Hmm.
Um, and Buscemi's American accent is like there's moments where I'm just like he takes me out of the film a little bit, where I'm just like, oh shit, that's Steve Buscemi. Whoops. Like,
Like, I mean,
oh,
almost in the beginning, even when he's talking about the grenade.
well, anytime he says, it's almost like anytime he says a one of the Russian characters' names, like if he when he would say like Beria is fine because you can say Beria in an American accent, but when he
Like
says like
Lamentov.
yeah, like yeah, exactly, that's a great example. When I hear Steve Buscemi say Melenkov or Shishevsky or something like that, or well, I guess that's not really Russian, but whenever he says a more Russian sounding name such as like Zukov or Udina or Molotov or Mikoyan or like these Russian names, I almost like he says it with such an American accent that I'm like, even his own name is he's Khrushchev, but like
Yeah,
I just find
Khrushchev's
it
law.
yeah, I just find it he takes me out a little bit, but not the whole film. And I don't mean to harp on that too much because I do think he's largely great in the film, and he actually kind of holds the film up. I think he's one of the better actors. Um, who do you think is the who would you claim who would be your pick for the funniest who's the funniest performance in the film, or who's your favorite performance in the film?
Um, we're talking about him, dude. Khrushchev, Steve Buscemi.
Yeah, you think
Um,
so?
dude, and so here's the thing: his role in the whole theatrics of the of like Stalin's thing was he was the jester. He was the court
Okay, right.
jester.
Yeah,
That's why
sure.
the first scene you come into him, he's just, oh yeah, we take a grenade, we juggle it around, we throw it in, we do anything to keep warm. Um, he talks about Khrushchev's law. Which is just
Mhm.
you have to write down what you're talking about the night before to see, like, how it went. And the only thing he's going over with his wife is what was funny, what was not funny. That was it.
Oh
Like
yeah,
there's
yeah.
he was like he's like I made a joke about the farmers. He's like that
What
was
landed and
funny.
what didn't land.
Yeah, and it's awful. Like the joke about the farmers, he's like that landed, so they're just laughing about people starving. He's like I made a joke about the Navy. And then he's like, oh, we're
Yeah.
like an
Well, it's
actual
also
like loss of but
they're actually shitting on Stalin in his absence because they're pointing out what a fucking terrible sense of humor he has,
right, yeah. They're like, how
which
do you
is
think this? And like he,
it's such a
it's Steve Buscemi,
complicated.
so he made a nice like joke about like the Navy. He's like, oh, I heard we got our asses handed to us, and he's not funny. He's like, okay, ooh,
Yeah.
not gonna talk about the Navy anymore. And then the grenade, but so the Navy joke wasn't funny, but the farmer joke was funny when people starving, and also the grenade joke was funny when he just talked about throwing it to random people just because they were freezing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Um,
it's a great performance. It really is. And I think he's got some like pretty unbelievable lines in it. I think for me, the funniest performance and probably my favorite performance is Stalin's son, played by I believe his name was what's the actor's name? Rupert Friend, I think is yeah, Rupert Friend.
dude,
Like
I have a hard time thinking he's the bad guy in the whole film. He's they talk him up like he's crazy, but I don't really believe so.
you didn't
So
buy his acting or you didn't buy that he's crazy.
no, I bought his acting and I didn't buy that he was like they're like, oh, this guy, like I don't want him saying anything. Like I don't want it like, oh it's him again. Like he's a kid who's a one of the biggest victims of what's the word for it? I don't like the word and it's not a good excuse. It's what is it like in oh what is it? Affluenza where you're
Affluenza.
yeah, so if
what is
you're a
that in reference to?
if you're it's a no I'm telling you it's a it's like it happened in a court case. There's this one kid who was like driving and he was driving drunk and he like killed some people drunk driving. He was like 16 years old, like had his permit, and I don't know the exact details. I'm probably butchering it, but either way,
Oh no, I'm
so
looking at it right now. It's like a pseudoscientific psychological malaise.
yes. So like
Yeah,
if you're young and you're rich and like you just haven't had consequences, like you haven't had consequences. So you're not you don't know you don't know what your actions do. So like there's
yeah.
some kid who got in a car accident when he was drunk and underage, killed some people, but the his lawyer argued that he was affluent enough to where he had enough money and he was so coddled from society where he didn't know what he is doing, so it wouldn't be right to charge him as a regular person. And they didn't charge him as a regular person. I'm not saying it's like a good excuse for anything. I actually think it's really good. It's kind of dog shit. You're a shitty person for it.
Well, they actually
But
say that like it's a
oh yeah, no, he just
pseudoscientific
he
thing.
got off on some nice. He's hyped
Well,
for
he
that.
also
Like
killed he like he I think he was either responsible or someone I can't remember the character, but like something about the hockey team that crashed the airplane. I think that was actually somewhat true. The Russian hockey plane crash. Like I'm pretty sure that was like a real thing from
you're
that
telling me that
time.
the Russia when was that? Oh, so it was before. You're telling me we could have got dog walked during the Mighty Ducks? Like if it's a little bit after, like it wouldn't even have been close.
This is 1950.
Okay, so but
January
no,
5th,
even then, you know, you would
1950.
have had some big dogs around.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, probably some pretty nice hockey players. And like it looks like I don't know. It looks like he tried to cover it up or something.
what's that? What's the?
Because the USSR was like they had this like very unbelievable stature in the world, and
Well,
I
they
think they
wanted
tried
to
to
be the
cover it
best at
up.
everything. They wanted to be.
Right. So I think his
It's
character was like responsible for that cover up, and like he could have been prosecuted for it, or he would have looked bad and on the world stage. But
yeah. Um,
but anyway, that I thought that character, the one scene where he's struggling, they're like cutting off Stalin's head. They're like
that's
cutting his
dude.
head off, and he's struggling with the officer's gun, and they're just
It's
standing
like
there waiting.
it's like 5 minutes. It's like, dude, it
It's so
feels so
fucking
long.
long. It's so long.
Just, dude, but
He's
so
struggling with it.
that's what I'm saying. That's why I feel bad for him. He's been coddled his whole life. He's like,
Yeah.
you know, he's not stupid because he
He's
has
also
like
super drunk too.
right. So he's drinking all the time, but he's educated to where he can read and he can like read a room and he kind of feels like at edge with everyone around. He knows that people are vying for power around him because his dad's so powerful. So he comes into that room. He's like, "What's going on?" His dad's head's peeled back. He looks at the machine. It's
Yeah.
literally just an American name on the machine. It just says like something co or what, you know what I mean? It just like,
Right.
because they're when what they're doing is on the up and up. They're literally just embalming him. Like,
Yeah, I mean that's just the process at that point.
right. But if you're a conspiracy theorist and you see that, you're like, oh, they're using an American
And he
machine
was
to take
definitely
his
crazy.
brain. Yeah.
Right. He
So
was
like it's
definitely crazy.
but like just because he's crazy doesn't mean what he thinks is wrong.
I guess what I
What he
guess what
saw
was actually pretty true about that character, the development of that character, is that like he was actually pretty fucking like I don't know that he was quite as like and maybe it played a bit over maybe a little bit under is what I was reading is that like he was actually underplaying the level of alcoholism and paranoia that Stalin's son
how
underwent. I mean, he
well
died of
like
alcoholism at age 40 in real life.
let's be real though, like how do you overplay alcoholism in like a Russian movie?
That's a good point. It's tough to do. Like
Right.
it's tough to
Like where
overplay
everyone's
that.
just drinking vodka all the time. Like how do you like
Yeah.
they made him a drunk amongst drunks for sure. Well, I
Basically,
don't
yeah,
well
that's
no,
true.
that sounds racist, but like they made him like there's not a lot of other drunk characters in the place. There's other people who drink, but he's like they're like that guy's an alcoholic and they're all Russian. They're like that guy has a problem. So
Yeah,
but
yeah. I mean,
well
it's a great performance.
but like
I thought it was one of the funnier ones in the film.
Dude, I thought it was like realistic. Like the stuff he
Yeah,
sees, I would be saying the same stuff if I was that stupid. I'd be like, "You're fucking taking out his brain. You're gonna deliver it to America. You want to fucking? They're gonna have Stalin run the country in a computer."
well, so like as the film progresses, so I basically will lay out the plot a little bit, I guess. So basically, what happens at the onset of the film is, Stalin dies of stroke, I believe, right? I think it's a stroke.
Well, yeah, no,
He
laying
pisses
out the plot.
himself.
Yeah, no, laying out the plot. Starts off in the movie theater.
Oh, right, the
Or
theater, right?
sorry, in the theater.
The
Uh,
orchestra, right?
yes, they're doing the
It's a
orchestra.
musical emergency.
And I feel like the beginning is a great example of
Yeah,
how the creativity and like productivity are stifled under the laws that they had under the regime.
right. Well, the
So like
paranoia of Stalin, right? Like it's all
exactly,
about like
so
the terrification of the culture by Stalin's reign.
every single person who is even closely like interlinked with it or within cells. Sorry for the. They all are they're all terrified. Like the one guy when they're talking back and forth, like he's like, "Oh, did he say like a five and as in hive or nine as fine?" Like, he's
Yeah.
like, terrified. He's like, "I don't know. I wasn't on the phone." He's like, "You literally don't even mention me.
He
Someone
was
asked
literally
you."
blaming him. Yeah, and well, he
Yeah,
was
he's like,
making
"Don't you
sure that it
even?"
was
He's like,
known
"Don't
that
even
like
involve me. It wasn't.
yeah,
It
don't
wasn't
even
me on the
ask me
phone."
because I'm not going to be the one who was wrong here because
And like,
that was in my head.
and you don't know exactly what's at stake, but what's at stake is just like in like three other scenes, it's just like long live Stomp, gunshots. Like you just get killed
Yeah.
for you people get killed for less. So
Oh
he's like
yeah.
literally don't rope me into this. I wasn't on the phone like 5 minutes from when you hung up. I don't know. I wasn't on the phone. He's like, don't talk
Yeah.
to me.
And then
And
they
then
start like they just start ushering in like they usher in like just peasants off the street to
yeah.
just like fill the seats
And
because they
and
got to
then
redo the
the
show.
and then the creativity is further stifled just from the fear and the bureaucracy of it when the girl comes in, the
Right.
pianist. She's
She's
been
refusing.
her her dad was killed under Stalin, her brother was. She's like, I don't even know why I'm doing this other than the fact that my brother and father would want me to live. And then the guy's talking about it and he's like, oh, if like the acoustics are off, even Stalin would notice the difference. And then she goes, even Stalin? And then he's like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, I mean, no, I
Yeah.
didn't mean that. I meant like, he's the
Yeah. He
best. He's
backs
had the
off.
best years."
He
He's
fucking
like, "Yo, is the
retreats
room
immediately.
spinning, bro?"
Yeah.
He's like, "I just
Yeah,
need a."
because that and it is true. Like I have read about this film a lot, and there are some historical inaccuracies throughout the film for sure. Like that seems to be like pretty much everybody's fine with that. And I think that he took some liberties with like the script specifically to like. I mean, he Hollywoodified it. Like it's just what it is. But I will say that like I think he really nails like what it probably was like in terms of the
I did
paranoia
too.
and the
See,
anxiety.
that's what I think. the film does a really good job at one side of it, just like satirizing like the whole
Mhm.
situation, but at the other side, like kind of like genuinely giving a decent feel of like how everyone
Right.
felt, like the guy. And like the thing is too, like whenever anyone has like a taste of power, they know like they're almost next on the chopping block. Like the gentleman, he's
Yeah.
like, everyone like sit down, like get out, everyone sit down. We're
Yeah.
doing it's a musical
It's always
emergency.
chaos, and it's always
Right.
you're always on the chopping block, and there's always just like death is just lurking in every corner. And I honestly think in
But it's the elephant in the room, and everyone needs to beat
right.
around it.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly right.
the one Malenkov. He in the beginning, he's like, "Yo, what happened to the one guy?" And he's like, "Do you really want to know what fucking happened with him?" Because they're just killing
Yeah.
people left and right. I can't even think of the guy's name, but he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, well, like, how am I supposed to keep track of everyone?" But like, no, you. The reason why Steve Buscemi's character did really well is because he was just the jester. He never addressed the elephant in the room. He always just was just silly if someone didn't show up the next day. Hate to see it.
He played his cards really close to the chest, which is why he wound up the victor in the film. And we'll get to the ending, but and we can kind of like we'll just push through right through the plot. I mean, basically what happens is well, I also think they do a really amazing job of like showing the government like the film is obviously centered around the government officials and the the actors play people who are close to Stalin, who are basically the people that Stalin trusted, but
Yeah, they
no
have
one
like
trusted
they
Stalin
own like
and nobody
whole
trusted each other.
yeah
And then
they
he
all have like
dies,
departments.
but then he dies. And here's what's interesting is that I found this like to be one of my favorite like um ideas by the filmmaker is that when he dies, he shows how terrified all of them are, even in front of his corpse, like because they're that scared that even his dead body they don't dare speak against him.
He's still there.
His physical
He's
body
not
is still
talking, he's
there,
not conscious, but he's still in the
but
room.
he's
So
there, and
everything they do, but also a lot of if you look at this movie like from the start to finish, a lot of the times the characters' actions don't represent their feelings, or at least how they should feel. Like they're you would think like someone comes in, they're like, "Oh my god, Comrade Stalin, like get the defibrillator, get him up." You know what I mean? They
yeah,
all are like terrified of the man, and like
yeah,
but they everyone comes in the room and they're all like, "All right, let's be rash about this." The guy's literally resting in piss. He's literally
yeah. He's literally sitting
literally
in his own
resting in
urine.
piss. And they're like, "What do you
They comment about the piss getting on their shoes at one point because they're
everyone
trying to
gets
move the
pissed on
piss.
like why do I gotta be in piss?" But like so like the phrase like, oh, like rest in piss, like
Yeah,
Jake, if
that's
you saw
that's
me or if I saw you like having a seizure and like you're just on the floor an hour in your own urine, I'm like moving you. I might even take your pants off. I might get a towel on you. I might
yeah,
like
but,
like
but
not
that's
just
because I
like,
don't
all
have
right.
fucking world power.
I just see you there. I'm like, oh, what is Jake in charge of? But no, like they're all like quote unquote worried about him. They're all like logistic or like in a as a bureaucracy worried about him. They're like, we need to get
Right.
everyone here, but like no one's actually worried about him. And like actions speak louder than words. So like the fact that they're all just like, all right, what do we do? And they're all just like, I hope he fucking dies. They're just all
Yeah.
like, he's gonna die if we don't do anything. We got to keep it up. And then uh, Beria, he is like that to a T. He's just hoping he dies so he can like claw his way to the top.
Right.
Um,
And the character of Lavrenti Beria is like, I mean, just pure fucking evil. And they really, it's so weird because like you would think because he's kind of plotting a he in the film itself without any of the information that you would have on the actual man, right? Because you come to find out that he's like a he's like an evil propagandist and like he commits like all of these like sexual abuse to like very young
is that in
girls
like
and
real life too?
yeah that's real like and
Oh,
he was I believe he was tried and shot for treason. I think that was all real, like they did. I think he was shot, he was executed. um
Oh yeah,
But
and
like,
there is that tense scene at the end where he's trying to like explain it. They're like, oh, like sodomization of like a
of a child,
child. He's like,
yeah, like
fucking wait.
he was just a monster sexual predator, and like, but before you know that about him, you're almost like you don't know. You can, I mean, the actor does such a great job of instilling an obvious sense of like, okay, this dude is no good. He's bad news.
Right, but
Um,
he's a bad guy amongst bad guys. Like he's
yeah,
like
but what he's doing, and almost what he's doing is because it's plotting against, like I think one of his like one of the things that he like tries to, and obviously this is all like selfishness, and he's just trying to gain power. But like one of the he instructs like like the liberalization of the Soviet Union, which
or is it radicalization?
was it was he was in charge of the radicalization? Okay, I mean, I'm
No,
getting
I'm
mixed
sorry.
up.
I'm just making a joke to the when they're like he's like
Oh.
Stalin was a liberal, and he's like radical.
Oh right, yeah, yeah, okay.
He's
Yeah, yeah,
like, I
yeah.
don't honestly I don't even know anymore. I'm not if I'm being
No, I can't remember which now. You got me
serious. I
mixed
don't
up
know
at
if
this
you're
point. I'm pretty sure
which one
Beria
was
wanted to liberate. He wanted to liberate the USSR, which is crazy because he was just like this
yeah,
evil
because he did ask for
motherfucker.
everyone to like be released and stuff.
Yeah, he was starting to get people released, but obviously it was all for, it was all a power grab at a certain point. But the actual individual of Lavrenti Beria was just he was just rotten garbage. I mean, just terrible
Oh yeah,
person.
just an actual shit human being.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he was accused of a lot of rape and a lot
Dude, it
of
was
like
like it's
sodomy and
so
sexual predation.
it's so crazy how like fast it steamrolls because like they in the whole movie they're just listing people's crimes and like oh you're killed for like would be treason like you're in the gulag for like because we think that you might be oh turns out that you were good this whole time our bad you get released from the gulag they're like dude you did this and like we're gonna kill you and he's like wait no
Yeah.
wait what do you mean we're gonna
Listen to
they're like
this. Listen, hold on. Listen to this. This is what I'm just reading about him as we're moving along through here. In 2003, the Russian government acknowledged um, Sarkisov, who is, I think, was a journalist of some kind or a colonel in the military. Yeah, it was a colonel, a bodyguard. His bodyguard. Okay, yeah. Colonel Raphael Sarkisov. He had a handwritten list of Lavrenti Beria's victims, which reportedly contained hundreds of names.
Jesus
The victims' names were also released to the public in 2003. So this dude is like this dude puts Bill Cosby to shame in terms of like the raping, like and the fucking sexual
he's a
abuse.
murderer
Just the worst, just the worst. And then apparently, oh, even worse. And they did say this in the film. In 2011, building workers digging a ditch in Moscow city center unearthed a common grave near the same residence containing a pile of human bones, including two children's skulls covered with lime and chlorine. Yikes. So
that's a yeesh
yeah, so like I would actually say in I remember reading about this actually now that I'm actually uncovering this as we're recording. I think they actually should have done a better job of making him look like the piece of shit that he was. I mean, this is a genuine. So, like,
no
if
they
you would
no
make a
they
whole
so
film
here's
about this
no
dude,
so here's the thing I think they do I don't think so it's not like the premise of the film but here's the
right?
thing
It's not.
the second the second everything goes awry his fucking fat ass sneaks in the building he's like I need to get everything on everyone else because I
Oh
raped
yeah,
kids like so he's like I know what you did you set up your own brother to get killed
yeah,
and then
right, right.
100 people killed you did that he's like I have everything on you when he
Yeah,
snaps
and they're all
and
just like,
but
listen,
like
we're all
he
friends here. Calm down.
right he's like yeah only
These are
friends
all
yeah
terrible.
Steve Buscemi's like only friends could like yell at each other like
Right.
that. But like the reason he was so scared and he needed to do that is because like they're like you fucking raped a kid in the butt
Yeah.
like
The
what the
fact that yeah, I mean, it does really play into like that's why I think it's like it's a satirization of and a black comedy. For sure, it's a black comedy. Like these are like the most evil, heinous individuals that you could have found in the world in the 1950s,
it's so
and they're
funny because
making them like very funny and hilarious
there's
and like goofy.
there's a scene that like accentuates that exact premise. It's like when they're doing the funeral, they
Mhm.
have red armbands
Right, right,
on
right. Yeah.
on the like the right side, and then a a, a, a Khrushchev, old Steve Buscemi's character, he's like, "What are you gonna invite some Nazis?" They don't
Oh,
like
right,
look
right.
around, but they got like fucking red armbands. Like, what the
Yeah, I
fuck?
mean, it's
Like
like,
you're already
whoops,
fucking
already
yeah.
halfway there.
Well, he's like, yeah, you invited the priest. What's next? Like Nazis? And then like but they have the red armbands on, so it's
Yeah,
not
that's
even.
pretty ironic. That's really funny. And then you got
Mhm.
Georgie wearing the corset, which is which was really
He's like,
funny.
we propped up a corpse in a corset. And he's like, why'd you mention the
Yeah.
corset? He didn't even care that he's talking about
He was
killing
just so
him.
pissed
He's
that
like, literally
he
mentioned the
ratted him out.
corset.
He ratted him out for
Yeah,
wearing the
he's not
corset.
even mad that he literally said, like, we're going to kill you. Like, you're just a puppet. He's like,
Yeah,
why'd you mention the corset, dude? And he's like,
yeah. He's
yo,
pissed.
I told you that in confidence.
That shit's so funny, man. There are moments in this movie, and that's Jeffrey Tambor, who's like, who's just such a great actor, but he's such a great comedic actor specifically. He's just so fucking funny in this movie. He's just got some unbelievably funny
Dude,
lines. And
I love the switch that he has. Like the second he gets power, he's like, "Yo, I don't."
yeah,
He's like, "You
but
can't
it's
talk to me
so
like that in front of people." He's like, just
yeah.
looking, like the second he's like, "Yo, I'm gonna be dead ass." Like you need to fucking. I need to look good out there no matter what. And he's just like the second he gets a little bit of power, he just starts. He goes from like a wicked humble person to like on the chopping block, literally gonna die that night, to like you need to find me the girl. I hope she's the same age like as she was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, his character's just got a million of those moments where like
It's like, yo, how
he's
do you like?
just
He's like,
he's
how do
like
you
very
like this bitch?
cowardly. He's
Yeah,
cowardly and he's really vain, but he's also like
but yeah, he's cowardly, but he knows he needs to have a certain amount of like machismo, so it doesn't like line up right.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
he's during like the painting, he's like, oh, which one? We tried to like switch this one up for you. He's like, yeah, he's like, burn this one.
Yeah. I love that line he says about I just pulled up the exact quote. He's like because he just starts delegating. Remember Khrushchev Steve Buscemi's character winds up like getting in charge of the funeral, and he's like, "I'm not going to do." But then George's character is like, "I'm not doing the seating plan. Give it to Blavatsky. He's an expert at sitting on his fucking ass." Which is like that's the kind of comedy you get in this movie where like there's one liners, there's like hilarious one liners that they build into the script that like they're funny anywhere. They're funny in America. They're funny in England. They'd be I mean, they weren't funny in Russia because this movie got like I think pretty sure it got banned in Russia, so which is obviously not great.
Oh
But yeah, the Russians they don't know how to laugh at themselves a little bit, but I
yeah,
mean
we also
it's a little fresh. That shit happened
there's a
like
lot of stuff banned in Russia right now. So let's
that's
you
great
know
point. Very true. Very true. A lot of shit not going on in Russia
there's a
specifically.
couple sanctions. They're probably not watching Disney Plus. Let's just be real.
So we'll talk about the ending here really quick, and then we'll start shifting gears away from the plot. In so what happens at the end of the film is Marshal Georgy Zhukov, who is the he's like the head of the Russian military, the Soviet army. He is irate over the supplanting of the military and NKVD. Agrees to support a Khrushchev in a coup against Beria. So like this is what Erroll and I were just discussing. During the Stalin's funeral, they start to plot this against Beria because they want to try him and prosecute him and execute him,
Well,
which they do.
it's like a anything. You just need a fall guy.
Yeah, and
You just need a
he's
fall
the perfect fall guy.
he's actually just they're like, dude, this guy's an asshole. They're like, he is
Yeah,
a actually a bad guy. They're like, we were just trying to survive, and that's
right.
kind of the gist you get from like Steve Buscemi's character, from like Molotov, from
Yeah,
all of them. They're not trying to climb up the ladder. They're comfortable where they where they're at. They just
yeah.
don't want to get fucking.
Yeah, but then well, once again, like also some heinous crimes by the actual characters. They make them related. Like you like them to some degree, or you're interested in them, and you find them funny and all this. But like heinous people in real life for sure. And so they hold an emergency trial and they execute Lavrenti Beria for revolutionary activities, sexual assault, and pedophilia, and the horrible acts that he was accused of. It looks like we're pretty much
Accused.
substantiated. Yeah, they
Yeah.
substantiated it after, finding fucking human remains and shit. So
That
he
man,
was the
if you,
worst.
dude, you find human remains at anyone's house, like you, nah,
Yeah.
like yo, you're
Yeah,
done.
you guy sounds like a jerk.
Oh man, the more I hear about this guy, the less I like.
Yeah, I can't like this guy. This guy. I don't think I can have a beer with this guy. So in 1956, Maria is the soloist in another performance of Concerto Number 23, which was played in the opening scene. Khrushchev, having powered over, which is played by Steve Buscemi, triumphed over the other members of the committee to become the new leader of the Soviet Union. Sits in attendance. Brezhnev, who will succeed Khrushchev in 1964, eyes Khrushchev from his seat. So, like, that's a great ending shot. What did you think of that ending shot where you see his
Oh yeah,
predecessor looking down at him over his shoulder? So, like, obviously very on the nose about, like, every time someone takes power in the Soviet Union, all the way up until
it's
the fall of the
temporary,
Berlin Wall,
man.
it's like, and even now, like, somebody's lurking in the shadows,
Dude,
waiting for your
do
demise.
you see the shit going on in Russia right now?
Yeah, right. With the fucking Wagner
Dude,
situation, right?
yeah, dude. So they said like they stopped and stuff, but what is it? Prigozhin, he was still saying like he was like, yo, I think I read somewhere where Prigozhin was saying Russia's weak.
Damn. Well, we can say that that's a whole other bag of fucking. That's a whole other can of worms to
Man, I ain't got
unpack.
nothing to say before I get Spetsnazed out my
Yeah.
house. Man, I got.
I think they'll be
You
all
know
right.
what I mean?
They seem like they're not. They seem like they've got all they can handle in the Ukraine at the moment. So I think you'd be all right.
Man, all fronts, man. But that's they would if you listen to Russian propaganda, they'd be saying the same stuff about us.
That's
Like
for sure.
BLM is just terrorizing
Yeah. Well,
everything.
it's all propaganda, and that's the thing about Russia. It has a reputation for like 100 years of being like this monster like regime of disinformation and state TV and all this. It's like it's always been a game of trying to disenfranchise and to disinform. Like that's the game. That's totalitarianism, though. In a nutshell, for a lot of
Well,
ways.
yeah, and I was
Totally
gonna say that's just about every government. They want to,
true.
the less you know, the better.
Right. So anyway, reception. Let's talk reception. How did the film do? Like I said before earlier in the podcast, did not do great at the box office. It didn't get a huge release either. I did see it in the theaters, but it was a pretty limited release, not a huge worldwide release. And in this kind of film, you don't really expect it to be like this monster, box office smash. But it was critically acclaimed though. Critics loved it for great reason. It's obviously hilarious. It's really smartly written. The taking on of like the cult of personality that was Stalin and trying to like satirize it was largely a success, even with some of the downfalls or the pitfalls of like none of the characters and actors speaking Russian. Um, funnily enough, little side note: former U.S. President Barack Obama was included it on his favorite films of 2018.
Oh,
Which I can see why you'd like that movie. It's
dude,
funny. It's kind of a political thing too. Like his world is politics. He's been in the world of politics for
right? Just
most
a
of his adult
satirized
life.
political thing,
Yeah, I mean, I would say
dude.
a lot of politicians probably watched the film and like could find quite a bit to laugh about in it, and
Yeah,
some
thanks,
reality too.
Obama.
Yeah. So there was it had a very good reception critically overall, but like I said, box office not so much. Not a ton of awards either. It did pretty well with the British award scene because it was largely a British film in a lot of ways. It was kind of like there's a lot of British actors in it,
Yeah,
but
it's a
most of
lot
the
closer to
filmmakers were,
Russia.
yeah, they have the danger. Oh, the danger! They took it on right from the other side of Europe. But Yanucci, the director and writer, he's obviously Scottish, so it played pretty well there. It was nominated for a ton of awards at the British Independent Film Awards, British Academy Film Award. It was nominated for two, did not win it either. But yeah, a great film. It really is a great film. It's a ton. There's a ton to watch. It's or a ton to look for in it because there's the obvious jokes, but there's like a lot of like if you I don't know a ton about the era or the time period, but like I would imagine that people who do probably find the film frustrating to watch just because of the historical inaccuracies. But like if you're just looking to laugh at like a movie willing to take on a very difficult and challenging time in history, in a difficult place too, this is the movie. Like it's dark and life is dark, and like they
Yeah,
really managed to make it funny.
dude. Yeah, it's Yeah, there's a lot of just like gunshots, people dying in the background. Like, so
Yeah.
it's really
Oh,
hard to make
that's
like a funny movie about
I
that.
wanted to, yeah, I wanted to make a note of that. Like that is also like a side note that I did notice is like that is going on like throughout the whole movie. There's always just like somebody being like what's the word? Being like wrangled
Executed.
in and arrested. Not even just executed, just being collected. Like just like humans living in Russia just being collected and probably being sent to the gulags. Like there's just this like purging of human life.
Dude, it's to the point where even in the beginning, the gentleman, when he's like, yo, everyone stay here, you're not gonna die. Like even the public, like he had to be like,
Yeah,
yo,
and
we're
no one's
not
safe.
killing you.
Yeah,
Like
nobody is safe. It's so dark. It's so
it was
dark,
just
but like
really good.
it's great to see like a filmmaker go out there and like have the stones to make something so dark like funny. Because most World War II films, I know this isn't World War II, but this is like okay, post World War II, like beginning of the Cold War era. Like this is not a fun time, and to make, especially if you're going to be talking about like Stalin's regime, to make this a comedy on this topic is I think it's pretty ballsy. I was impressed with it. But if let's take a quick break, Erroll. What do you say? We'll do a quick break, and we'll come right back, and we're gonna give our review of the film. Check out. We're gonna play for you just in the meantime. The interludes for today are actually gonna be by that band we pushed at the beginning of our podcast release. This is gonna be Via Luna, and the previous breaks will be also filled by Via Luna. So enjoy a little Via Luna. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to do a rating for the film, and we'll talk a little bit about what's coming next. So hang tight. We'll be right back. Okay, back with our rating for the Death of Stalin. Thanks for hanging in there through the episode. We kind of bounced all over. We talked a lot about film, and we were happy to talk about this film. We kind of talked a little bit about it. We talked about it in pieces in this episode. We talked a lot about it at the beginning in our intro, and then we kind of dove back in and polished it up. And hope you got to get through all of it. And I know it's a little jumbled the way we kind of constructed today's episode, but um, we'll be a little more structured on the forthcoming episodes. We're getting dusting off the cobwebs from a short break that we took, but diving into this film, Peripheral Views podcast. Here we are. This is our second film, and it's going to be our second rating. So, Errol, you want to do the honors? What's your rating out of 10 for the Death of Armando Iannucci's 2017 film, The Death of Stalin? What'd you give it?
Dude, I'm giving this bad boy a solid 8.
Perfect. Nice. I'm happy you went with that rating because I'm going to join you. I'm also going to give it an 8. And I actually think an eight's a little generous because
I do.
when I originally watched it, I probably would have given it even more, maybe an 8.5, 8.5. But I actually kind of enjoyed it a little less the second and third time viewing it for this episode. For just a couple of little reasons. I think the jokes just don't hit. It's one of those films. It's like the first time you see it, because it is not what I expected, or it's not what a
Dude, it's
viewer will
definitely better.
expect.
It's definitely better the first watch through for sure.
Yeah, I think that's what kind of like it lost
But
a little
that's what
bit of
I think
luster
it.
for me.
I think it's such a good first watch through where I'm giving
Yeah.
it's an easy 8 for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was gonna go like 7.5, but like I did remember how much I enjoyed it the
See,
first time.
I almost went 8.5, but I went 8
Wow,
just
that would have been a big score.
because of the
Yeah, yeah.
rewatching.
I think
That's
it's got a lot to offer, especially if like you show it to someone who hasn't seen it before, they could really get a lot of enjoyment out of it. But it is a really funny film. It's a lot of fun. It's never boring too. I'll give you that. Like I'll give the film that much credit. There's no one point in the film where you're just like, you've lost interest. At least I didn't, because the dialogue is just so like snappy.
oh yeah,
Um,
even the slow parts are
right.
well think like the slowest parts are the parts with like Stalin's daughter and she has like what does she have? She has a she like can't focus on anything.
Right. Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
even
Yeah.
so even on the parts where you're like where you can't quote unquote focus, neither can the actors. Like so it's
Right.
like
Yeah. Yeah, it's got its moments, but it's definitely got a good pace. It's got a strong pace that will keep you entertained throughout. So there it is. There's our ratings. That's an 8 out of 10 for me. That's an 8 out of 10 for Errol. So we've done two good films right out of the gate. The Thing, I went with a 9. Errol, you gave that an 8, I believe, as well.
oh
So you're
dang, I'm
saying that's
just
on par with The Thing?
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. See, I disagree.
So
I think The Thing is a much better film, but they're two different films. It's hard to compare.
if you had both of these go up to bat, then I'm voting for the thing just because the cultural like
Impact.
bag to it, but like
Yeah.
also as far as like good films, they're both good. Like they both the thing lacks where it does just because it's dated, and this lacks where it does. I don't know. Maybe if they did this like a melodrama like Chernobyl, because
Hmm.
if you want to talk about Chernobyl, if you want to talk about it, then if you want to talk about some stuff, bro, we can talk about Chernobyl.
Oh
Cause
God.
that's the dude. That was. Did you watch that?
I saw the first like two episodes. I haven't
Oh,
seen
you
all
didn't
of it, but
finish
good.
it? How
No, I
did you
could.
not?
No, no, no. I know. No, believe me, I know.
Oh,
The only reason that my wife and I didn't finish it was because of I think we started it right when we were moving to Syracuse. So like there's like way too much just started happening. Too many like priorities, and my TV was just like not hooked up. That was like literally
dude,
it. But
I'm
like no, it was great. What I saw was great.
the best like Russian like adaptation like American thing. It would have to be Chernobyl, and like
Yeah,
that
yeah, it's pretty
show is,
great.
dude. That's probably the best show I've ever seen. That's
I gotta tell
legit.
you, you are like a real fan of like anything nuclear. Like you're just a nuclear head. You're a
Yeah,
nuke
no,
head.
I'm a glutton for power.
You're a motherfucking nuke dog.
You were like you're beating around the bush for a lot of stuff. Like, dude, I like I like physics.
I like mass
I
fucking
like splitting
destruction.
protons, dude. I like radiation poisoning.
Okay. Well, that brings us to like, hey, listen, next week comes out Oppenheimer. So you gonna go to see that in the theater?
Oh my god, I'm gonna see that in IMAX.
Yeah, I think I might too. I just might as well. I'm gonna try to at least. I'm gonna try to find the time. I wanted to see Indiana
Dude, but
Jones in
how
theater, but
you what about Barbie?
I'm not going to see Barbie. I don't know. I
Oh
heard it looks
my
funny. I'll give it to it. It looks funny, but like if I got listen, man, I have not been. I'm telling you, this is gonna make you sad, but I have not been to the theater since 2019.
dang.
I,
That great.
the last film I saw in the theater was a film called which damn, I tell you, there's of all the directors out there, Robert Eggers is a guy to pay attention to. I saw a film called The Lighthouse.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that's what I saw. Or not the last thing I saw in theaters, but we should talk about that sometime. Even though
you've
I
seen
don't.
The Lighthouse?
Yeah, dude, I love that movie.
Dude, yeah, that movie's like that's like the mod. That's the best. That's like a modern The Shining for me.
How'd you feel about the cum scene?
Thought it was fucking amazing. Not the first time I've seen it. Shit. You remember the fucking Silence of the Lambs when Jodie Foster gets it right in the face? Just
Yeah,
walking
but
down the
that's
fucking
just a
jail.
little. That's a little bit of cum. That's not like fucking like a staircase full of cum.
Yeah, that was pretty something else. I mean, there's so much Hitchcock in that movie, and there's just like I
Dude,
just love
yeah,
it.
no,
There's a
that's
ton to
no.
talk
So
about that.
here's the thing. The fact that it was like done in black and white, but still like so like vivid, like that's I
Robert Eggers, bro.
it's too
Robert
much for
Eggers.
me to just say like I feel bad for just being like, did you like the cum scene? Because like that's what
Yeah, if
there's
you're
so
gonna
much
chalk that movie up to that, that movie is like way more than
yeah,
like
no,
the
there's
homoeroticism that's it because there's a ton of that
well
homoeroticism
no,
stuff
so
going on
think
there.
no, so here's the thing about all right, so I don't even care how much time this takes. I'll take a second. Um that's the thing that's going to happen. Like if you're just two guys in a excluded area for some amount of time, you're going to have like some kind of sexual stuff to the point where one of the factors in the movie is the mermaid idol.
Right.
That is a fetish. The mermaid idol is a fetish. That's why he's jerking off to it. Definition of a fetish. Give me a second. Give me a moment, dude. This movie's brilliant. This movie is genius. Um, so that idol that he had in his bed was a fetish. He broke it and he like threw it. That's why he's like, I'm no longer under your thing. So fetish, definition number one, a form of sexual desire which gratification is strongly linked to a particular object or activity, part from the body other
Or
than
a
the
part
sexual
of the body.
organs. Yes, so strongly linked to a particular object or activity, or two, an inanimate object worshipped for its supposed magical powers because it's considered to be inhabited by a magical spirit. That little thing that he had there was both a inanimate object like that was like possessed quote unquote by a magical spirit, like a sexual magical spirit, and also a sexual desire strongly linked with that object. It was like
Oh,
that
right.
object, like
Yeah.
with, and it was, where was it? It was sewn into his bed.
Yeah,
So
okay,
like
right.
that was like, so he slept every night and he's like, why do I feel these sexual urges to a goddamn fucking fish lady?
Yeah,
He
because
had
that's
like
the
a
object
literal
of
fetish. He had a fetish, a literal fetish in his bed where he slept. So
yeah,
like when
okay,
he
right.
fucking did his thing with it and then like broke it, he's like, I'm not. He's like, you set up the other guy. I don't think that he set up the other guy. I think the other guy sewed it into his bed because he was crazy before he and then and then I do believe that the guy killed him and like that's why he picked up his head and shrimp thing. But I think he killed him because he is crazy. Then he's like, you're going crazy like the other
I've
guy.
got a lot. See, I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong because, like, this is the beauty of like great films. But like, I'm going to save that and let's go. Let's cue that motherfucker up. Let's do that soon because, like, I wanna talk because I've got a counter theory. I've got a bunch of counter theories to that. In fact, that I wanna throw at you, but I don't want to do it right now at
Well,
the
what
end
are
of
you
this
gonna you're gonna
podcast.
talk about? What are you?
No, no,
Because
no, no, no. Don't
no,
don't
because
try to
you
probe me into it.
no, because realistically, no, because that's I'm not talking from the perspective of Ephraim Winslow. So that's not even. I'm talking about the aspect just from a guy who's trying to just be a cool, just be a guy. But like, if you okay, no, we do got to talk about this sometime.
No,
You're
I'm
right.
telling. This is what I'm saying because like I'm way too tempted to like start diving into this, but like we just have to do this film like soon because there's so much that I read about this film because I was obsessed with it when this first came out. I was like,
Well,
this
give
might be
me
one of the best
something.
movies.
Don't leave me in the audience hanging. What give me something
That's
you
the
said.
whole point. This no, no.
Okay,
I
okay,
think
okay.
that's the whole point is to leave
Okay,
the
so
audience
we're
hanging.
you're talking about if not the next episode, then we're 2 episodes away from
We're a
the
couple
last
episodes out, but we can talk about
three,
this
two to
film
three
and
episodes away from the last,
listen, we
maybe
have a
four.
we have a potential guest, a potential guest host for an upcoming podcast, and he goes by the name of Steven Launderville. He used to be on he's done a few guest spots on our previous podcast together,
An
and I'm
absolute
working on getting
staple.
him. I'm working on getting him available, and maybe he can sit down on this one because I don't know that he's seen the film, but this would be a lot of fun to just bounce some ideas around because I have a million ideas about
Well,
this
even
film.
even if
and
not
about
that.
like some of the surrealist themes that are like there's I just don't even want to get into it. We're gonna save it. The Lighthouse by Robert Eggers. Robert Eggers is you're right, he's a genius. If you haven't seen The Lighthouse, he's also his other two films are his first film was The Witch. Have you seen The Witch?
The Vitch,
The
no.
Witch, yeah, the Witch, it's the Witch, but it's the yes, that movie is nearly as good. I think The Lighthouse is by far my favorite, but he also did The Northman last year.
The
Um,
Northman was freaking sick, dude.
I fucking loved it. I thought it was
Dude,
awesome
that movie
too.
was wicked
Badass.
cool,
Yeah,
dude. That
yeah,
movie was
it
so
was cool as
cool,
shit.
man. That
Yeah.
movie was good.
You know what else is great too is he's actually doing his next film where everybody's waiting on right now. He's remaking Nosferatu.
Oh, old Dracula.
Fucking count me in. Yeah, the original
I don't
Dracula.
like, man. I don't like so I don't like vampires because
Yeah, but he's gonna make it cool. I trust him. I trust
well,
him.
no.
At this
So
point,
I
yeah.
believe that too, but it's like a you remember like the deepness with like the baseball thing I was talking about earlier, how it's
Yeah,
like a hero's journey. Like
right.
I don't like I don't like the villains being vampires because vampires like in literature they're manipulative people. They are like they're people who like you use subterfuge and like you connive your way to like get what you want. um there's actually I guess there's actually like a dichotomy between people who like vampires and like werewolves because like with a
I could see
werewolf
that. I absolutely could see that. There's like something gothic about Dracula's
it,
and
if
vampires.
you
That's
like
like,
if you like would rather be a vampire it's because you'd rather like manipulate and control people or
if you'd
if you
rather be a
more
werewolf, you're a fucking brute.
well no if you more so like if you feel bad for vampires is because like you feel their pain but you'd also like to manipulate if you're in that kind of situation. But if you feel bad for werewolves it's because you you can sense the struggle that they have and that they can't fight it like it's something that is not up to them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
like in
that's based on the media though. That's not based like that, and I don't mean the media like CNN. I mean like that's based on like the
that's the
media
media trying to make you
trying,
werewolves for
trying to turn the
vampires.
werewolves gray. Tell you what, there's something in the water that turns the werewolves gay.
I'll tell you what, that vampire stuff is just Fox Network trying to get you.
No, I mean like the films and the TV shows and the franchises that have come out all across like about 120 years of like vampires and werewolves. Like this stuff's been around for a really long time, and so
Yeah,
like it's like if you had like it's because of the way that the films and the books like
yeah,
the Bram
but
Stokers and
that's always been how they've been portrayed. There's never been like a
that's
vampire.
true. Yeah, I mean
Not never, but the
it's
overall like
basically that way though.
scheme is
Yeah,
like if you're a vampire, like you're gonna take advantage of like some like younger person, and by younger
right.
person, I mean like you're 300 years old. So if they're like
They're
50
all
or like
younger.
30 or yeah,
Like, yeah, they're basically
you're
all
man,
younger.
you're talking to a child. Like so,
Basically. All right, well,
yeah,
let's take a short break on that note. We'll do the lighthouse. That's going to be on deck coming down the pike. We'll pump that one out and we'll take our sweet time on that one because that one's going to be fun. We don't have to do a big intro like on this one. And you know, I was happy to talk about the Death of Stalin, but you know, there's a lot of other films that I wanted to make sure we touched
we should do.
upon in the episode. So, well, let's take a another quick short break. And when we come back, we are gonna do. We'll just talk about what's coming very next, not next down the road, but the very next episode. We'll let you guys know what that's gonna look like. Hang tight. We'll be back to talk about it. welcome back to Peripheral Views. We're going to close this episode out. This is our 5th episode and our 2nd in the film series. We did The Death of Stalin from 2017, written and directed by Armando Iannucci. Coming up next is a big, this will be a new introduction to a new series we're going to do. This is going to be kind of fun. It's going to be, now we've touched upon this kind of domain in a previous podcast. I believe the Sunny Listen episode, we talked a little bit about anyone who's listening and has heard that Sunny Listen biography episode knows, Erroll and I are UFC fans, MMA fans, boxing fans. We like combat sports. We want to talk a little bit about that stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to introduce a new series. This is going to be our ranking series. So this isn't strictly beholden to UFC or MMA combat sports. We're going to do ranking shows on a lot of stuff. We can do ranking shows on our favorite films, on our favorite albums, on our favorite books, on our favorite historical events. There's a lot of things that'll fall into this series. But what we're going to kick off with is going to be, we're going to do a top 5 moments, UFC moments of the 2023 calendar year so far. So it's now July 4th. It's Independence Day here in the US. We have International Fight Week is coming up this weekend in Las Vegas. So there's a big UFC card as per usual. This Saturday at the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas, you've got UFC 290. A lot of good fights on that card. Prelims look pretty solid. Early prelims look okay, but the prelim card is solid. You've got prospect Jack Della Maddalena is taking on his late replacement Josiah Erroll, which if you don't know Jack Della Maddalena, you might want to get to know that name because this dude's going to be a problem in the future here. And then you get to see Erroll. You'll appreciate this. Robbie Lawler's retirement fight is going down. Yeah, he's fighting Nico Price and the headliner of the prelims. That's his last fight. He's going to retire after that, which is probably for the best. Dude's been fighting a very long time.
Yeah.
Everybody loves Robbie Lawler.
Southern Star.
Yeah, the man has been. Well, he got knocked out by Nick Diaz when they were both like 18 years old in the UFC too. So he's gonna retire. That's a big deal. Bo Nickel, prospect, unbelievable prospect. Dude has he's 4-0 professionally, and he doesn't even have an accumulation of a round yet because he's finished guys so fast. Yeah, he's
that's like a Khabib stat.
Straight up.
Khabib's never bled in a fight.
Yeah, basically.
How do you? Nah, all right. Let's be real. How do you finish a professional at the top of the greatest fighter in the in your class and not a blood?
I know it's kind of insane.
No, in a fighting sport, man. No, the hill I'll die on, and it's the most comfy hill. Is Khabib is the greatest fighter of all time.
Yeah, he's got an argument for it. I disagree, and we'll talk about that.
We can next week.
Well, we're going to talk about that next week. We're going to talk about.
You can try to sleep me on that hill. It's a tall order, but
you know what's going to be funny? You know what's going to be funny too is I actually disagree.
What do you say? Is it?
I disagree.
There's one name. There's one name.
It's John Jones. God damn it!
No, it's not. It's George. It's George St. Pierre.
No, it's not. It's John Jones.
It's John Jones.
It's John Jones, bro. Bro, it's John Jones, and it's not even close. It's not even close. It doesn't matter.
He did that shit on drugs.
Yeah, all right. If that's your argument, then okay.
I'm saying it's more.
Oh, you meant on cocaine.
It's more impressive. He was doing coke the whole time.
Yeah,
he wasn't in shape.
It's not even that. It can't be if it's a conversation about resumes, which I think it has to be. It's that's how you determine who's the best. Is who was the competition against.
Yeah.
He beat everyone.
Well, no, that's all right.
Khabib did not. His resume is weak, bro.
So I hope he doesn't hear this, but that's the same reason why I say Mike Tyson isn't the nastiest boxer of all time.
Oh yeah, the strength of schedule. I get that. No, it's understandable.
Right, that's so I'll relent there.
John Jones.
No, do you put him up against someone, man? No. So here's the thing: the Jones brothers. There's not
They're
like,
unbelievable.
dude, you got like you roll up at a bar, man. You're not beating those people.
No, no, they're just like
There's
this different
no
species.
that's a boss fight. That's what I'm saying. That's like a
Yeah.
legit. Like you better have a gun, and even then, I don't like your chances.
I used to deliver where he was from in the 19th Ward in Rochester. That's where he's from. He's from Rochester, New York. And I used to deliver
John
to
Bones Jones, dude, he used to
I
fucking
used to
kick him in the
also I
bar like
used to
Captain
deliver
McCurry.
well there's a factory there that I used to deliver to, and I used to actually deliver to one of the dock workers was his cousin. He says he says he hasn't seen him since like um this was back in like 2019. He said he hadn't seen him since like the hit and run thing. Like he hasn't been back to Rochester since. It didn't
He
happen there, but
ran,
like that was just a claim. I don't know if that's true. I don't mean to like espouse anything
bro.
that
I'm
could be
literally not
untrue,
gonna
but
say anything negative about him. I'm sorry,
no, he's a
Dave.
gangster. I think he's the greatest fighter that ever walked the face of the earth. That's my opinion. I think he can beat the shit out of
So
anybody
here's the thing
as long as
too.
there's no constricting rules.
I'd like to think that too. Like when it comes to like the greatest fighter, like you need to be heavyweight. You need
He
to
is
be
heavyweight.
heavyweight. That's
He just
no.
went to
So
heavyweight.
that no. So that's what I'm saying. Like Khabib didn't do it heavyweight.
Yeah, I mean, even if I don't want to
If
make
you
that
want
kind of pound for pound is a
No,
complicated
no,
argument.
that's I don't care about pound for pound, man. If you want to be the baddest man on the planet, man, you got to be the
You got to
baddest
be
man on the
heavyweight.
planet. You got to be
Yeah,
able to beat
because
the
heavyweight
biggest
beat
dude.
everybody's ass. Right.
Exactly, you got to be able to be the biggest dude in the room if you want to be the baddest man on the planet, and that's what
All
that
right. Well,
title is.
let me finish up this UFC 290 card because we'll talk a lot about this
Dude,
on
I
Friday.
also I didn't say the anti-Star Spangled Banner, so I want to end with that. That's the last
Oh,
thing I want to
right.
say.
Okay, ready? Let's all right, let's finish this up then. So Jalen Turner taking on Dan Hooker. So Dan Hooker's back. Not no relation to our beloved co-host here, Erroll Hooker. Um
Lots of love
here's
though.
here's where the card gets fun though. And the card is fun up to this point. There's a lot of good fights on. Robert Whitaker is fighting Dricus Duplessis, the South African, and the winner of that is gonna fight Izzy,
Who?
supposedly. So that's going to be fun. I'm pretty confident Whitaker's going to mop him up because just Robert Whitaker is so good. And Duplessis has just not looked that impressive to me so far. But we'll see. We'll see what happens in that fight. It's
Oh, dude,
another one
I
contender
said
fight.
the Southern Star. I was thinking about Robert Whitaker earlier.
Oh yeah. Well, he's a savage, man. He's one of the great. I think he's one of the greatest fighters of all time. He's only lost to one man in like 9 years, and that was
Dude,
Izzy.
I like him too. He's a good person.
Yeah, he's a gamer too, super gamer, big time nerd. Um, Co-main event: Brandon Moreno defends his flyweight championship against Alexandre Pantoja. So that'll be a fun. That's a flyweights are always fun. The 125 division's a blast because those guys they just move so quick. That's a good fight. That should be a fun fight. Those two have actually fought twice before, and Pantoja has beaten him twice, and he's the champ. So we'll see what happens there. And then you get your main event, big fight, big fight. Definitely the one to not miss, and that's going to be Alexander Volkanovski fighting Yair Rodriguez to try to defend his featherweight title. If you've never seen, no, I'm going to save it because this is going to make my list. So we're going to talk. That'll be in our next episode. That's what's coming up this weekend. That's a big and in light of that, on Friday night before that UFC 290 card, we are gonna sit down and talk about our top 5 UFC moments of the year so far, and then we're gonna split that time with our top 10 UFC moments of all time. So Errol and I are gonna sit down and pick our top 10 UFC moments, not MMA or boxing specifically. It's just going to be UFC. We'll just be beholden to that. Although I understand that there are like some pretty unbelievable moments in
Yeah,
Pride and
because
in
I
Bellator.
was Pride was the one that goes
Pride's the
to.
shit. Yeah, Pride.
No,
There was
because
some
literally,
sick
no.
shit.
Let's
Because
we can
Pro
get it out the
Cop.
way right now. We can get it out the way right now. The number one Pride moment of all time was that Quentin Jackson slam.
Yeah, probably that would probably have to be number one for Pride at least.
If you want to know a fun fact, that was in sports that was the most force derived to someone in a in like a single act, like the
Really?
so like
How do they
in
measure
so
that?
well you measure it by physics. So in football you have someone running at someone one speed and running at someone another speed. Boom, you hit each other, it cancels, or like it like you it negates. Hockey, you're going a bit faster, you're on skates, you're moving around, you got some speed. Boom, one of those hits when someone's like not moving, you can measure that. the forces that happened during that Quentin Jackson slam were as follows. He has this man 6 feet in the air, and he moves that 200 and so odd pounds to the ground
Oh my God.
with the quickness. Like he uses the
Yeah.
whiplash, like the impact of him being like just the weight of him being slammed to the ground, like is there's not a lot of other forces in sports that you see outside of highlight, outside of sports where you take a small ball and you whip it upwards of like 100 miles an hour. Like there's not a lot of other times where you see like the forces like displayed in that slam. And I
Right.
can't even Ricardo Arona. It was Quentin Jackson. I was like, I can't even think that Ricardo Arona. It's
Yeah,
the
I think you're
Quentin
right.
Jackson Ricardo Arona fight. And here's the thing about that fight. Before I'm going to get into it just a second because it's not a UFC fight, and I would get into it because it's one of the craziest fights of all time. Quentin Jackson lost that fight, dude. He was passed out. Ricardo Arona was flipping his hand. He looked at the ref. He's like, "What do you do?" He's passed out. I passed him out. He's like, he didn't tap because he's sleeping. And then as he's like tapping his hand, Quentin Jackson's like, "Oh, the ref's tapping my hand." Shimmies up. He goes to put him in a triangle. Dude stands up. It delivers the most impactful
That was
force
what was so fun about
delivered in
Pride, though, dude.
sports.
Because
Dude,
Pride is so
because they
crazy.
didn't care about the people who were
No,
fighting.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's what made it fun. I'm sorry, it's true.
Dude, the face stomps, the head kicks. They're like, yeah, if someone's on the
Yeah.
ground, you want to kick them in the mouth. That's
Well, the
their fault.
knees, you could knee a down opponent too, like those fucking vicious like
You
kick,
could,
like
yeah,
yeah,
you
they had
could knee
soccer
like the,
kicks.
yeah. If someone like if you went to go shoot a takedown and they stuffed it, you could just knee them in the face, like knee them in the
Yeah.
top of the head. But you could also do that in the early UFC, but like, and also you could do the 12-6 elbows, which are I don't want to say like they're effective, but they're just like if you get in a fight with someone like and you're fighting for your life and you have them kind of like roped up like left arm or something or
Yeah.
right arm, 12-6 elbows. There's a reason that they're illegal in the UFC.
Yeah. Well, that's
Just
the only reason why John
literally
Jones
elbow
has a
some.
single loss
Yeah,
is from
literally
12 to
just
6.
elbow someone in the back of the head or elbow someone in the top of the head or elbow someone in the face. Like you'll win the fight. Like if you
Yeah.
need to win a fight, you'll win it.
Well, on that note, let's wrap it up. So we will be doing that on Friday. Plus, I will do want to I can't forget to mention we will have a little bonus surprise content at the end of that. I don't want to give that away. We're doing a great job of like keeping you guys titillated. We've got stuff down the pike. Just hang with us. We'll do Friday night. We'll do our UFC show right before International Fight Week. Can't think of a better time to break down some fun UFC stuff from this year and from years gone by. Errol, you got anything you'd like to add before we close this thing out?
Dude, nothing but the anti-Star Spangled Banner, dude. I'm ready to sing it.
Sang it. Let's hear it. Pump it out.
Okay. Yeah, to the tune of the regular Star Spangled Banner. Oh, okay. Yeah. Give me a second because I was gonna play it just so you could like play it out yourself and try to like do
Oh,
it, but I'll
sure.
just
Yeah, yeah,
no, I'll do it in my head. If you want to lay out something, feel free to do it, but like you don't need to. Here it goes.
yeah.
In three, two. If you want to like overlay it poorly, it'd probably be great.
Oh, I'll do
Okay,
it.
but three,
I'll pump it in.
two, one. Oh, the shadows we cast in twilight gloom at the land that divides us, our hearts find no room. The stripes of discord, the fields of disdain. We march to the dissonance of fractured refrain. With no gleaming stars, just darkness above. No unity we find, no binding love where freedom falters and justice bends in the shattered land our hope descends. The flag of division we unfurled high A symbol of discord where truth and trust die. No land of the free, no home of the brave, only chains of discord, a nation enslaved. Thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful. Look at
Thank
that.
you,
That's what we want
artificial
to hear.
intelligence. Thank you, the United States of America. Thank you, Internet. Thank you, Jake.
Yeah, that was something. That was something. I'm gonna layer that in. I don't know that I like it, to be honest. Like your singing was fine, but I think I hate the song. I think
I
I hate
love the
it.
song, man.
I think I hate the song. I think I want the original. I'm going with the original. But you're pissing all over my
Boo.
patriotism. You know what?
Boo,
On the
United
4th of
States.
July, you should be a damn ashamed of yourself right there. That
I
is
didn't
a
write it. It was a robot.
you're gonna push it on the writers of the song.
Yeah, I am. I'm gonna blame it on the robots.
Well, listen, I think I'll put it in anyway, but just for our listeners, that is gonna be pure irony. That's gonna be pure irony just on the 4th of July. All right, well
Yeah,
that's
maybe
perfect.
the fourth of you lie.
I will not lie because I'm like George Washington up in this bitch. Okay. All right, let's wrap it up. This is Peripheral Views. This is our podcast. We are wrapped, and we will check you guys on Friday with our UFC show. So see you then.